Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Yes, indeed. It's a Friday edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We got Jason, we got Brad, we got Tyvis, and we got a lot to get to today. We got a football. I don't know why there's a football, but I don't know which sports show, so why not a football?
No, we got
Mikey
a football.
McNuggets.
Our
What's
good
happening?
friends at Wilson sent us the brand new Duke Edition football. It's got the metallic Browns logo. It's got marble laces.
Ooh.
It's a thing of beauty, and the best part, it was handcrafted in Ada, Ohio. So I don't know where Ada is in Ohio, but it's local to
Southwest.
Ohio.
Yeah. Southwest.
Yeah.
And
Let's
yeah,
go.
if
That's
anyone
on-
else
that's
wants
on school
to
up
send
in your
us-
Ohio.
That's on the way. That's on the way to
geography.
Fort Wayne.
Yeah, so it's kind of Indiana-ish,
Yeah.
somewhere in Ohio. But all I'm
that
saying
little
is if
area.
anyone wants to
Look,
send us cool
It's
stuff to put on
full.
the set,
Tom Brady wouldn't
We will.
like this because it's full to the
Deflated?
max.
Yes. Solid. Look at that.
We deflate the balls? What do you think?
it came in perfect PSI. I cannot
Okay.
confirm or deny that Anthony, Earl, and myself did not deflate that or not.
Okay. Well, if we're going to play a flag football game later. Should we
Yeah,
get
so
a
if you
flag
guys have any
football
other
team
cool
together?
things, send us.
I mean, we're having a hard enough time with putting this fantasy football league together because of the stupid rules that don't let Jay and Mike Polk be in it. Idiotic rules. God
The
forbid.
rules. So yeah, if you have any
Anyway.
other cool things you want us to put on the set, feel free to send it to us. And
Yes.
we'll,
we take all
put it on
kinds
the
of
set.
free stuff. We're happy to have it. Guys,
Free food at the draft.
so explain this to me,
That would
guys.
be
Maybe you all have
nice.
an opinion on this. When Myles Garrett hit the Great Gazoo, a.k.a. Mason Rudolph,
The Great Gazoo.
remember the Great Gazoo?
Yeah, yeah,
Brad, you're old
absolutely.
enough to
I'm
remember.
old enough
Jason,
for that.
you're
I remember.
Tyvis is before your time.
Jetsons,
The Great
baby.
Gazoo.
Jetsons.
So Myles Garrett, hit him in the coconut with his helmet. Aaron Donald yesterday at practice went bananas. By the way, all these practices, these joint practices, there's been like huge fights. I mean, there usually are.
Well,
but it seems like it's been crazy this year.
Hold on, now this one is crazy.
This one's
You're
crazy.
telling me you're going to
Yeah.
take the Super Bowl teams
Yeah.
and
Right, that
put
was
them
a
back in the
stupid call.
There you
and
go
think
right
it's
here.
just going
Here
to
you
go
right here.
smooth?
Here you go
Right.
right here, Tyler.
Here we go.
Here you go, Tyler.
Aaron Donald, we see the swinging helmet. Did I miss it?
Hold
already?
on, no, it ain't come yet.
He's
It's
like,
coming back.
It's
It'll
coming
rebound.
right here.
Don't
Here it
worry.
comes. Here
I
it
mean,
comes.
he's like swinging the helmet. He had two helmets.
They said- They said,
It's hard enough to
let's
get one
Let's
helmet.
do the Super Bowl matchup.
Yeah, here we
Nothing
go.
could go
Watch the
wrong.
There you
helmet.
go.
Look at that. Look at that. He's swinging helmets.
Get
And then he got
yourself
another helmet, and he's
Get
swinging two
behind
helmets.
me.
Better have my
Stop
money.
playing with me.
Now,
That's impressive. Like,
Now,
it's
I don't
hard to
know
get
if he
one
hit
helmet
anybody.
off. My man got two.
I don't think anybody got hurt that I know of. I was texting my guy James Rapine. I didn't hear back from him. James, what happened, buddy? Anyway, so Booger McFarland is just one of the many examples.
Okay.
When Myles Garrett, and by the way, I think that's where Baker Mayfield. I said this at the time. People got mad at me, and I'll say it again. I think that's where Baker first started to lose some teammates, is when he was critical of Myles Garrett after that, and because he didn't know what was said, and so Myles Garrett got suspended, deservedly so. He deserved to be suspended,
it's a game.
right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, to me, it shouldn't have been indefinite. They did reinstate him, but whatever. He deserved to be suspended. But Aaron Donald, because I guess because it happened in practice and not a game, there's no penalty expected. The league said this is a team matter. Booger McFarland goes on ESPN when Myles Garrett swung his helmet and said he should be arrested. Arrested, which is the dumbest thing I ever heard.
Yeah.
Arrested, it's a football fight. Suspended, fine. Arrested is idiotic. And now he says, this is just boys being boys. I don't know the exact words he used, but he basically said, it's boys being boys. It's practice. Let's move it along. Guys, Tyvis, you played in the NFL. Should it matter?
I mean, is the act bad? Yeah, the act is terrible.
Yeah.
But, like, when you come to practice, obviously, it's a hostile environment. It's a lot of chirping that goes on in the joint practices. So,
Right.
yeah, it's going to be chippy. Now, it ain't never got to that. Usually you see some fists thrown or a push and shove match.
Yeah.
But, somebody taking a helmet off. I wonder. I'm curious to know what went down to make him respond this way, because Aaron Donald does have like a mean temper, but like that was like wow. So it's interesting. I do think the Rams do something about it. Maybe it's a fine or maybe it's a game suspension.
But
I
doubt they.
I
think
we
they
actually
will.
do know what led to this. Would you like to know what?
Yeah,
led to this fight?
yeah.
Let's take tag board full. This is actually from my friend from Texas, Ben Baby. He's a Bengals beat reporter
Bengals
now.
beat reporter, yeah.
Yeah.
You know Ben?
I knew Ben from Texas. Yeah, he was on the A&M beat before in Cincinnati. So this
Only
is what
flaw with
happened
him
here.
is he tweets too much about like MMA or whatever. It's like I don't want to hear about that.
He's a big. Oh, he used to be a boxer back in the day.
Yeah,
so that's
or
where-
boxing. Yeah, let's stick with the Bengals there, Ben. I love you. but
Well,
go ahead.
either way, this is from Ben Baby. He's now
Yeah.
ESPN's Bengals beat reporter. Bengals offensive lineman Lyle Collins was engaged with the Rams player on a run play. The Rams player, whose number was too hard to see, had Collins grabbed from behind and engaged a little too long. Collins took exception, threw a few punches, and all hell broke loose, which is what the video then saw was of Aaron Donald swinging the helmet. So that's what happened, Tyvis.
So somebody grabbed the offensive lineman and held him for a while, and
Aaron Donald lost his mind.
No. They said
Lyle
Collins
who's
lost
the
his
Bengals right tackle.
Yeah, he lost his mind, and then Aaron Donald
punches
responded.
were thrown. But punches being thrown is part of the business, right? I mean, that's part of the deal.
Yeah, that's just
it's a step to be swinging helmets.
The helmet swinging is literally like
Well, that's because you
crazy.
You guys are you guys, and shout out to your mom. I saw your mom last week.
Oh,
as
yeah.
you know, so
Yeah.
shout out to your mom. Practice fights are like nothing, right? That's only in football because you got the helmet as a weapon for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I've seen some of the greatest fights in practice. They've been the best. They've been the freaking
But
best.
do you think he should be suspended?
No, it's in practice.
But what's the difference if it's practice or a game? It's the same violation. You're swinging a helmet.
Listen, practice. There's certain etiquette to the games, like golf, right? We're in practice it's just like scrimmaging. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
all
it's
it is.
worse in practice.
Nah.
Well,
because
see,
the game is much more intense than in practice.
I've seen some things in some practice settings.
Yeah.
That I mean people going at it for real. And I mean, not with the helmet, that was crazy. But you know, you got some Pittsburgh in it.
The
so,
only reason this is bad is because it was recorded, and if nobody ever recorded, and they just said something.
Look how Aaron Donald's standing right there.
So
Look
now
how
we're
Aaron.
just gonna
Look,
suspend guys
go
based
back
on
to
if we see
go
it
back
or
to that,
not?
Mikey. Go back to that because I want to show you how Aaron Donald's
It's
standing
gonna
here.
cycle. Hold on, this is a
cycling.
montage.
He
You
like
can't
this.
just pull that back.
Aaron Donald's standing there like.
You can't be swinging helmets. You could kill somebody swinging a helmet.
What you gonna do with me? Nothing.
Jason, what do you think about this?
The Myles thing, obviously, he was going to get suspended. It was a national TV game, and there was
That should not matter.
No, listen, but there's great camera angles of everything. This is far away. Just let me finish.
Yeah.
This is far away. I know how you are. There are no clear angles. You can't see what he hit. And here's the only thing. I think he should get one game. I think he should get suspended one game. It should not be the length of Myles, because the difference to me, Myles used a man's helmet and hit him when he was not wearing a helmet. From the footage that we've seen, he was kind of flailing. Aaron Donald's kind of flailing, and he's hitting people that were already helmeted up. So the risk of serious injury was not as great as what Myles Garrett was.
There's certain rules here. There's certain people out here not to be trifled with. Aaron Donald, okay?
I mean, Myles Garrett is one too.
Not to be trifled with. Lawrence Taylor, not to be trifled with. There's certain Charles Oakley, not to be trifled with. There's certain people not to be trifled with.
No offense, but Jason and Brad are lost in the freaking soup here. First of all, it's the exact same thing. No, it's worse.
Not.
He swung the helmet. It doesn't matter if what you think he consciously thought, well, I'm going to swing the helmet, but I'm not going to hit anybody just because he may or may not have hit anybody because he's not a good camera angle.
Impact matters.
The intent.
Let me tell you something. You get in that rectangular box, you wouldn't out here with men. Stop playing with me.
So you think you should get 6 games?
Stop playing with me.
Absolutely.
You think you should get a 6-game suspension?
100%.
That would never happen. There's no chance.
Of course it won't happen, but it should.
No.
It's the exact same offense.
He
I
should
don't
get
care
one.
if it's a practice.
Nah.
Well,
I think he should be suspended.
If we're in all about being fair, then yes, he should get some type of.
Stop it.
And we want to be fair.
Come on.
Yeah.
But it's
Look at my man
By
right
the
here.
way, he gets 6. Myles got 6.
if we're gonna be fair, then yeah.
look
But
at
Myles
my
Garrett
man
shouldn't have
right
been suspended for 6 games.
I don't
Shouldn't have been
think
that
so.
long. Myles Garrett should, in my opinion, had a 3-game suspension, and Aaron Donald should have a 3-game suspension.
No
That's
way.
what it should have been.
No way.
It's the intent of what you do. If I go out there and who's somebody that's annoying? Give me somebody that's really annoying. Pick somebody out.
All right, wait a minute. While you're trying to figure that out,
I want you to pick somebody.
If I'm in a car accident,
yeah,
Grant Williams for the Celtics.
you get a ticket for assured clear distance. If I'm in a car accident, kill somebody,
Crazy.
manslaughter.
Crazy.
Like there's a difference. It depends on the
He
outcome.
eliminated the
It's
Bucks.
not just
So now
it's not just
that's
the
a bad
incident.
example.
No, it's not.
We
No,
moved
here's
to
a better
manslaughter
example.
now.
Here's a better example. Let's say I go out on the street and I attempt to run over somebody and kill them with my car. Okay?
Okay.
Whether I hit them or miss them, it should be equal crime.
But
It's my intent.
There's degrees to misdemeanors. There's degrees to
So
felonies.
I have to stop because
But
you
that's
guys,
based on intent.
You guys are going down a pathway that
we're going on a
that's
pathway.
So let me just say,
We
something.
are.
You are. So here, there's rules and etiquette to this, right? If you break the rules in this game, any sport you play in,
Yeah.
you're gonna answer for it.
So why doesn't Aaron Donald have to answer
This is
for
in
it?
practice.
But there's no rule. You don't think it's against the rules to swing a helmet in
Let me
practice?
tell you, practice anything goes.
No.
Am I lying?
Practice a lot goes down.
But not swinging a helmet. By the way,
We can't get to that. But
both of these cases.
the only reason that this makes it bad is because it's not Rams on
I've
Rams.
seen-
That's the only. If it
I
was
agree
Rams
with
on
that.
Rams, this wouldn't even be a story.
Bull, I've seen things in practice
Yeah.
where, oh, you gonna get on me. They looking for weapons in the practice. I'm gonna use the cart. I'll get the cart. Now I'm gonna swing on you.
But Greg, we're talking about precedents.
Like I said,
The precedents is Myles Garrett
anything
got
goes
suspended for 6
in-
games. By the way, for the
anything goes in
Browns fans
practice.
screaming they're not suspending him because he's a Ram and they're out to get the Browns, that's stupid. Don't go down that road. That's dumb. The people that are paranoid, the league's always out to
Anything
get the
going
Browns.
about
That's
The
stupid.
only reason I feel like the Rams do have to owe him some type of suspension is because it was against Cincinnati. But if it was Rams on Rams, they wouldn't. It wouldn't even be a story.
To me, it's the intent. To me, Myles Garrett was suspended for 6 games. The same thing happened here. In fact, to me, it's worse because the game means more. It's more the heat of the moment. And Myles Garrett accused Mason Rudolph of saying something that was way over the line, which I'm sure La'el Collins did not do to Aaron Donald in that case. So, I don't know.
Look, he got a shakedown right here.
I tell you what.
Ooh.
To Tyvus's initial point, though, after these teams played in the Super Bowl, it was very stupid.
That was
they had a-
dumb. Yeah, that was
You
dumb.
know there's bad blood.
You know Bengals is still upset about that. Like, why would you do that?
Although La'el Collins wasn't in that game because he was on the Cowboys
True.
last year. But
I would imagine this was set before the Super Bowl was played, was it not? Like, I'm trying to think. When did the Browns schedule this with the Eagles, their joint practice?
The Browns have not scheduled their joint practices
No,
for next
I don't
year
think
yet.
so.
But the Super Bowl's a long
But they
ways
didn't
away.
know. Did they know the preseason schedule before the end of the season? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Let
think
me
so.
think about that.
In baseball, they know.
Even
all
if
these
it was,
things,
I would have canceled it. You can't. You're not gonna get no good. Like, I mean, you're gonna get some work, but it's gonna be some personal
Have
stuff
you ever
involved for
recalled
sure.
2 Super Bowl teams meeting in the preseason?
Never.
Yeah,
I don't
that's-
recall
that's-
that.
I don't
that's-
either.
I have a question for Tyvus, though.
Oh,
and
shoot.
Tyvus, you can answer this for us. No, seriously. Have you ever had your helmet ripped off in practice?
No.
Like, how
That'd
did
have
you
to
get two
hurt.
guys' helmets
I mean,
off?
I got big
that's what I'm
ears.
curious
Well,
about.
okay, so how it happens is because a lot of the times people practice with their stuff unbuckled. Like I'm not one that kept my stuff all the way strapped up. I always kept one loose, or if you got the ones that zip, you keep it low.
Why?
So why? Because
it's cool.
It's a swag thing.
It's
you know,
cool.
you pop it on, pop it off.
It's
you know,
cool.
it was just easy.
right.
So that's probably what happened right there. And then typically when you make contact, your stuff, a chin strap pops so it can get loose like that.
Yeah.
It comes off easy.
So let me ask you this. I'm going back to my point I made earlier.
Yeah.
There's certain people out here that you don't fool with, right?
Yeah, he's one of them.
You know exactly who they are,
Yeah,
right?
he's one of
And so if you know that, and you light the powder keg, right?
But he didn't have nothing to do with
But
it.
here,
He made it his business
He was
to
in the
get in.
vicinity.
No. They said that it was a running back.
I mean, like-
or it was Collins and somebody else.
So
I would have liked to see a nice fight between Aaron Donald and La'el Collins. That'd probably be a good fight.
it would be.
So I'm gonna switch it up. So here, just knowing people and who they are, right? Just knowing who they are. So remember when Charles Oak was in the Madison Square Garden
Here
and they
we go.
surrounded him, right?
Yeah.
I'm watching. I'm at my
need
daughter's.
like
I'm
20
at my daughter's
security
high
guards
school
to take him out
game,
of
right?
there.
My guy has it on the phone. He said, "Look, this thing about to go down with Oak." So they surround him, right? And so I see him surrounded. I see Charles surrounded, and I see where this thing is trending through the TV. And I'm saying to myself, "This is MSG security. Whatever you do, please don't touch him. Just don't touch him. You don't touch him, you'll get out of it."
Yeah.
As soon as the guy put
Yeah.
his hand on his shoulder,
Then it was over.
I was going.
Charles Oakley started kicking their ass.
because I knew
That was
what
great.
was going to happen.
I loved it.
Right?
I loved
So Aaron Donald You know who this is.
But he had
Lawrence Taylor, you know who it is.
Lawrence Taylor.
There's certain
But
people
Aaron
that you know who they
Donald, it don't
are.
matter.
Ron Artest.
Ron Artest.
Show some consistency,
Lord,
NFL.
Hey,
We'll talk
hold
about
on.
the situation.
What's the guy down in Miami? Haslam.
Oh, Udonis?
Udonis. Don't fool with him.
All right, we'll get to the situation, this disturbing story with the Bills punter later. Let's bring in my buddy Dave Richards, CBSSports.com. I've been talking fantasy football with him for over a decade. There he is. Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Dave. Can Dave hear us, or is he frozen?
Dave just froze literally 1 second ago.
Oh,
literally 1 second
We
ago.
froze Dave up.
I need to.
We're off to a bad start.
He was there. He was literally there.
I
He was
need some
waiting
help.
to sit. He's back.
Oh, he's back.
Dave's back.
You got him back? He's unfrozen? Dave, how are you, buddy?
Bull, I am no longer frozen. I actually made it.
All right, good.
Yay.
Dave, meet Jason. Brad Sellers, who played with Michael Jordan for crying out loud.
Here we go.
Brad, I enjoyed Michael. I enjoyed Michael crushing your soul for so many years. I'm a Chicagoan through and through. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry it went that way.
Played with Michael.
Hey, listen.
And then he crushed his soul.
Listen, I know who he is, right? He's still a good dude.
That's true. Hey, Dave, it's the time of the year, man. Drafts are coming up. Next Wednesday, we're having our show, Fantasy Football Draft.
Yeah.
So we're excited about that. Most of the guys here are amateurs in fantasy football. You know, Tyvus just retired from didn't retire, but he's just leaving the NFL.
Yeah.
Brad has never played. Jason's played once. What would your advice be to the
Yes.
newbies, whether the guys on our show or just in general, how to first dip your feet into fantasy football?
First of all, I need to apologize to Brad because I came at him pretty hard. But this is the ultimate Cleveland sports show,
That's right.
so
You come as hard as you
I'm
want.
trying to kick it up a notch.
all
Brad,
right.
I'm sorry, and yes,
Listen,
you were awesome when you were on the Bulls.
That
too.
was lightweight. I'm from Chicago. That's lightweight. You ain't talking about nothing.
I am too. I don't know.
That's what
I
I'm
was
saying.
just trying
You ain't
to.
talking about nothing. You gotta give me Tribune heat. Sun Times heat. That's kind of heat I gotta get. You ain't even.
I
in
don't
the
know if there's much
atmosphere.
tribute heat anymore.
Yeah.
All right,
true.
Bull. So,
Yeah.
so here are the first pieces of advice. First and foremost, know what the rules are of your league. You know, you don't drive a car without knowing the rules. You shouldn't play fantasy football without knowing the rules. So how many quarterbacks do you start? How many running backs, receivers, tight ends? How many points is a catch worth? How many points is a touchdown worth? I know that sounds kind of silly because in the NFL it's 6 points, but in fantasy leagues it varies. It also depends on exactly what type of touchdown you get. Are there bonuses involved? Do catches count for anything? These are all things that you need to think about on top of, are there flex spots? Who can start in the flex spots? These are all things that just kind of fall into place. So know your league rules and then figure out whether or not you need to prepare for a draft or maybe a salary cap. That's an auction for people who are uninitiated. How are you going to put this team together? And once you know all that, you can start to kind of finalize that skeleton of what you think you'll need. Running backs typically go fast in fantasy drafts. The position is typically thin, although this year there are some really good talents at running back that you could get into once you get to the middle rounds. That's different from years past. Receivers, very deep. Quarterbacks, very deep. You can kind of wait a little bit on quarterbacks. Tight end is the other position. If your league starts at tight end, you need to decide before your draft whether you want to have a difference maker at tight end, or maybe you want to wait a little bit and find a sleeper at tight end, somebody that you can find in the double-digit rounds, somebody maybe like David Njoku.
Well, we'll get to that, but that'd be interesting. But let's go to the top of the draft. Is there any argument against taking, can you make an argument for anybody but Jonathan Taylor as the first pick in the draft?
Yes, you can absolutely make the argument for Christian McCaffrey as the top pick in the draft because in 2018 and 2019, he was unstoppable. He was averaging north of 25 PPR, fantasy points per week, PPR, points per reception. That means every time he caught the football, that's a point. Every time he scored a touchdown, that was 6 points. He caught a lot of touchdowns, and he caught a lot of passes, and he picked up a ton of yardage along the way. But the worries that people have about Christian McCaffrey, what he did in 2020 and 2021, he got hurt a lot. So there's a lot of upside with him, but if he gets hurt again in 2022, there's downside. I mean, to me, this is a question for Powell because he played in the league. He knows what it's like to play through injuries, and sometimes those injuries are really significant. If you take on too many issues, specifically soft tissue injuries and ankle injuries when you're a running back, I don't know how easy it is to recover from that and then go out and play a full 16 games. But people love the upside of Christian McCaffrey. These are people who don't care about the risk. They're in it for fun in fantasy football. They're not trying to lose their league in week 1. They want to play. They want to use that top pick to try and dominate their league. But there is some serious risk involved with Christian McCaffrey. I am a little risk adverse. And with the first pick, second pick, third pick, and even the fourth pick, I'm not taking McCaffrey until I get to 5th overall.
No kidding. Wow.
Okay, well, I'm glad you mentioned 4th because purely selfish, I'm drafting 4th. I haven't played in probably 10 years. Last year was the first time, and I finished dead last. So tell me who to pick at 4 and 16. Do the job for me, please, so I at least get 2 picks right.
I need first and foremost, and again, going back to the first question Bull asked me, what's the league scoring?
So
I don't know.
I'll tell you.
I don't know.
We play it's a super flex league, so I think of it as 2 quarterbacks, right? But it's it's 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a super flex, and a flex. Did we lose you? He can't hear us.
He can't hear us.
I need to know who to take it for.
I like how this is personal sabotage. We'll we'll work with Dave on the back end.
Who should I take it for?
So
you guys take over.
So it's quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a super flex, which means that person can be anything, including a quarterback, and a flex, which means a running back, a wide receiver, and a tight end. So essentially, it's a 2-quarterback league. Okay, especially with only 10 teams.
I had no idea that was.
I didn't know that either.
I'm actually just the flex.
I haven't even
super
signed
flex
up yet.
and a flex.
I haven't even.
And then
I'm glad you're enlightening us.
There you go. Well, it's all in the rules.
Somebody
look at it.
That changes a lot. It actually changes a lot.
It does change a lot. In a league where you're starting 2 quarterbacks, the quarterbacks kind of move up. Dave was talking about waiting on a quarterback because in a league where you only use 10, you're going to wait as opposed to where you're using 20.
I know who I'm getting.
Dave's going to restart his computer and log in, but I just want to say before you guys continue this conversation.
Yeah.
Bull picked this format of the league without consulting anyone. He picked the most random, ridiculous league. We should have just done normal. I'm going to stand by the fact we should have gone with a normal league that everyone understands.
I am the only one. I set up the bar. I set up the food.
I got to pay for it. It's coming out of my
only because I brought it on the air. Brought it up on the air that the station should pay for it.
I'm paying for it.
What do you mean you're paying for it?
I got to submit an expense report, but I got to put it on my card.
Okay.
What do you think about what he said about McCaffrey? That surprised me a little bit.
Well,
I feel bad for Earl.
It didn't surprise me because a lot of people in fantasy circles, and I'm one of those dorks in fantasy circles, are picking Christian McCaffrey high. I don't know. He mentioned times that you might have an opinion on it. To me, I want nothing to do with Christian McCaffrey.
Nah, it's too iffy.
Too many injuries.
I take Kamara, though.
Kamara, is he not getting suspended is the question.
You don't know that for sure, but most people think his suspension probably won't happen until next year.
Okay.
Right, so I'm just understanding the rules that you just laid out.
Yeah.
So I need a multi-talented player.
So
McCaffrey would fit the bill.
Absolutely.
Right? But he stay hurt too much.
Yeah.
Then the next person that came to my mind.
To be fair, his injury hasn't been like
it's
ACL
not been serious.
No, but it's enough to keep him out.
But there's been a number of nagging injuries. The one thing with McCaffrey, unlike Saquon Barkley, who was great as a rookie, when McCaffrey has been healthy the last 2 years, he's still been great.
He's unbelievable.
Whereas Barkley does not look like the same player. Like when he played last year, he was not very good.
Well, he said he playing with a chip on his shoulder.
But if I'm looking for a multi-talented
Kamara's great.
He's going to catch the ball. But see, you need somebody that can score too. So Jonathan Taylor score. So
to me, there's no argument. I mean, just because he was the best last year doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be the best this year. But
take Derrick Henry.
See, Derrick Henry's the guy to me. He had an injury last year, but
he don't need to catch no passes. That man gonna have the craziest stats.
I want a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. If we do it, we ain't doing like attempts or anything, like rushing attempts.
No, but we are doing PPR, which means you get a point per reception. And the touchdowns are 6 points for a receiving and rushing touchdown, 4 points for a passing touchdown. So there you go. That's pretty traditional. The only thing we're doing that's not traditional, Mike, is having the second quarterback. Everything else is pretty traditional.
Hold on, I'm working on Dave, but I can't.
All right,
I hear
whining about all this stuff.
Zeke used to be at the top of the ticket, but
no longer. Zeke is no longer a first-round pick. He might not even be a second-round pick. And by the way, I'll give you the Cowboys just lost their left tackle for the season.
I saw that.
Tyron Smith. And if you look at Ezekiel Elliott's numbers career-wise, without his left tackle, they are not very good.
Well, he had some offensive line problems like 2 years ago, and he was terrible.
Last year.
No, it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
I think it was 2
Hey,
years
Bo,
ago.
we got Dave back.
All right,
He
Dave.
should be able to hear us now.
Dave, you hear us?
I hear you.
Yeah, so
Zeke isn't even a round 4 pick.
Not lower than 4.
Hey, hold Buckeye crime.
Dave is a Miami guy, man.
Buckeye, as you will learn, I am not a Buckeye. I am a Miami Hurricane, and I am still bitter about what
still mad about that?
2002.
Still mad. I gotta
still
hang on
mad.
to
It
that.
was a pass interference.
You big mad.
What are you mad about?
It wasn't pass interference.
It was.
You know this.
I mean,
Come on.
Okay.
I can only go by
It
what
was
was
at
called.
least holding.
I can go. I can only go by what was called. But anyways, you were saying
Don't get
something
mad.
about
4 and 16.
yeah.
Tell me who to pick.
Yeah.
So Dave, I'll give you the rules real quick. We are doing quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a super flex, a flex, kicker, defense. We are PPR and 6 points rushing, receiving touchdown, 4 points passing touchdown.
I guess it's 17.
Okay.
4 and 17.
So
it's
first of
17.
all, Bull, you're throwing them into the deep end right away in fantasy by making it a super flex league. I think this is you intentionally trying to take advantage
He's rigging it. Yeah, he's
to
rigging it.
sabotage the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show Fantasy Football League so you win.
Yes.
That's what I think is going on here because
I'll
a
win
super
either
flex
way,
league.
Dave. I'll
There's
win
a
either
word
way.
after bull to describe this league. It's bull bleep.
Bull, I think a super flex league is a big step up for the fellas if
You
they
think I
haven't
should take
played
it out?
fantasy football before.
You want me to take it out? You think I should?
I
Would you like
think
me
you
to take it out?
should.
Okay.
Well, you know what I think, honestly?
Yeah.
I think there should be a vote amongst the other 3 in the room. Because you're asking them to use 2 quarterbacks. It changes the league dramatically.
it does.
If you go with 2 quarterbacks, because that position, which I said it's really deep, that's if it's a 1 quarterback league and you're in a league with 10 people, 12 people, 14 people. When you're talking about a super flex league, that means you can start 2 quarterbacks. Quarterbacks traditionally score more fantasy points than everybody else in fantasy football. So you're going to use that super flex for a quarterback. Now the demand does a full 180. And like with the number 4 pick, I'm taking a quarterback. And I don't care if it's the 4th quarterback if it's Lamar Jackson, if it's Jalen Hurts, I'm taking that guy. It could be Mahomes. It could be Patrick Mahomes. Well, the reason why Jalen Hurts is on the list is because he rushes. And so this is one of those other little things. Paul is hating that I'm giving all this information away, by the way, because this is all how he was going to get an edge.
Exactly.
Rushing production for a quarterback, it's like a cheat code in fantasy football. So like Lamar Jackson, during his MVP year with the Ravens, he was unbelievable. He was like 30 fantasy points per game.
Won me a title that year. 2 titles.
And because of it's because of the run. It's not because of the passing.
Right.
His passing yards wasn't great. He had a lot of passing touchdowns, and he didn't have a lot of interceptions, but he didn't have a lot of passing yards, and he ran for 1,200 yards. So it's like with these types of quarterbacks, and we're talking about Jackson and Jalen Hurts, and even somebody like Trey Lance that you'll find later on in your draft. You're not only getting a quarterback, you're getting like half of a running back on top of the quarterback. So it's a cheat code for fantasy football. Those are the ones that typically get pushed up in drafts, including this one if you go with a super flex.
Hey,
Right.
Dave, I'd ask you a question. See, on this Jalen, I'm going back to Jalen Hurts here, right? Because I always feel like Philadelphia is like a half step out the door on Jalen Hurts. Like, we like you, but we really don't like you. And anything started to go wrong in Philadelphia, you know how they'll turn on you. So I can see him turn on Jalen Hurts. He'd be on the sideline real quick.
Brad, I would tell you that would normally be the case. And in fact, that is how I thought about it back in February and March. And then I've taken a peek at what the Eagles have done all offseason long. First and foremost, they didn't add another quarterback. They kept Gardner Minshew as the backup quarterback. They had plenty of draft capital. They didn't use the draft capital on a quarterback. In fact, they went and traded for A.J. Brown, who was the number 1 receiver in Tennessee. Right. He's going to be the number 1 receiver in Philadelphia. That's a signal that they want to throw the ball more than they did last year, and it's a signal that they trust Jalen Hurts. I also happened to watch them practice each of the past 2 days. They were down in South Florida for a joint practice with the Dolphins. They only practiced with the Dolphins one day. The second day, the Dolphins had the stomach bug. The players weren't available. The Eagles practiced, and they went in full pads against each other. Hurts was better against the Dolphins than he was against his own team, and he didn't even run against the Dolphins in that practice. He was throwing, completed 2/3 of his passes, looked good, and he's making good decisions with the football most of the time. But against the Eagles, and this is against his mates, so you know that they're not going to hit him, and he was probably more willing to run, ran for 2 touchdowns in red zone drills. He's going to continue to use his legs. I think his passing intelligence has gotten better. I'm not sure if his accuracy has gotten much better, but when he's got receivers like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, I think he's in a position to put up some good numbers. And I don't think Gardner Minshew is going to challenge him much. I think the Eagles are riding and dying with Jalen Hurts as their quarterback this year. And I think he's going to thrive. And that's why he's moved into a top 5 position for me amongst fantasy quarterbacks this year. And the cherry on top, and Bull will love this one, their schedule is great. I project the strength of schedule for every team. I don't like using last year's information for that. I do it on my own. They have the second easiest schedule for quarterbacks this year. Hurts should have a very, very good year.
Ooh. Dave, what's some sleeper running backs that's in the draft that we can get later on?
Let's talk about Brian Robinson in Washington. He's certainly climbing up draft boards, but I don't think he's climbing up enough. I think the Commanders want to have a physical grinder, a north-south runner. I think they are done with Antonio Gibson in that role, and I think Brian Robinson gives it to him. In preseason alone, I believe he's 3 for 3 or 4 for 4 in short yardage or goal line carries. He's converted them all. He's a physical, tough running back. He's got good vision to read his blockers. He's not a bad pass protector for a rookie either, and he's not a bad pass catcher out of the backfield. He might get a little bit of that, but the most important thing is that he doesn't dance when he gets the ball, and he doesn't go east-west with the ball. And I don't think that the Commanders want that anymore, and that's why Antonio Gibson is now their top kick returner and a change of pace air back, someone who might catch 3 or 4 balls per game. Robinson, his average draft position is like round 9 or round 10. I bet by the time this weekend wraps up, you'll see him go in round 7 and round 8. And I'm not even sure if that is early or too soon for Brian Robinson. I think there's potential for him. Gibson had double-digit touchdowns each of the last 2 seasons. That's on the table for Robinson in D.C.
Dave, a lot more to get to, but we'll do it next week. We appreciate you taking the time, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Dave.
All right, Dave.
You got it, guys. I can't wait to hear about this draft next week.
All right, we'll fill you in. We'll fill you in. We got to decide if we're going to keep the Superflex or not. Thanks, Dave. Dave Richard, CBS Sports. Great to talk with him. We now go back out. Tom Pelissero, the NFL Network, is with us.
Tom is joining us. And
hey, Tom.
thanks to Tom, anytime we get a guest via the NFL Network, our man Andrew Howard helps hook it up. You can see Tom on NFL Network. He's one of their NFL insiders, and you can check out all the NFL games on NFL.com Plus this year. So make sure you guys check out that. Tom, thanks for making UCSS debut today, man. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great, Tom. It's good to have you with us. And, earlier in the show, we were talking about the Aaron Donald situation in camp. I'm of the belief that if Myles Garrett gets a 6-game suspension, so should Aaron Donald. These guys disagree because it's practice. To me, it's the intent. What's the difference if it's practice or not? I thought Myles Garrett's suspension personally was too long. I would have given him 3 games. But and the league's not going to do anything. What do you think about it?
Well, the league, based upon its policies, does not interfere with practices, including joint practices. Discipline has always been handled by the clubs in those cases. We've seen a lot of fights through the years in joint practices as well as just in normal practices, punches thrown. There have been other occasions where guys pull off a helmet and swing it around. I certainly understand where the video that ended up going viral yesterday of Aaron Donald certainly swinging a helmet and apparently hitting someone at least once, maybe twice. At one point having 2 helmets in his hand. It's not a good look. I mean, there's no question about that. But clubs are responsible for discipline in these cases. Yeah. Now, can the NFL try to influence what the Rams may do or not do with Aaron Donald? I think the other, absolutely, the league is going to have an interest in that. I think it's also important to understand here, we've got whatever this is, a 20-second clip from practice, and this is not in any way to excuse, Aaron Donald swinging around a helmet and trying to hit people with it. But the reality is, in games, not only are there way, way more people watching than are watching on a Twitter video or anything else, but the NFL has a continuous stream of all these different cameras from a bunch of different angles and can go back and see, what led up to it, exactly what took place here. In practice, you're really limited to now, again, the clubs could pull the video that they have from practice and you could get a little bit better feel for it. But in this case, we're working off of what, one small video there. It's a more complicated process, and it's one that the league historically has always left to clubs. So, fair to say it's unlikely that Aaron Donald is going to face discipline here.
Tom, are you surprised, considering how you mentioned it? There's fights in these joint practices all the time. Things get tense. These teams just played in the Super Bowl, so there's probably already a lot of bad blood. Are you surprised these 2 teams got together here, or no big deal, even though they were in the Super Bowl?
No, because it's Sean McVay and Zach Taylor have a history, and Zach
True.
was on Sean's staff out there in LA. So not a surprise there. I do think that there's a fair evaluation on multiple levels of the way that things are set up now. Remember, we went down from 4 preseason games to 3. A couple of years ago, we didn't have preseason games at all because of the pandemic, but teams got different ideas about being able to utilize these joint practices increasingly to get additional work. And that this year in particular has led to a lot of those teams that had the joint practices then didn't play any of their starters in the preseason games. Roger Goodell has been very forward with the fact that he doesn't think that the preseason is the best product that the NFL puts on the field, which is, of course true, but a ton of people watch it. Your average NFL network rerun of a preseason game from a few days earlier is going to outrate a lot of other sporting events on TV. That's just the reality of it. But the fact that increasingly you're seeing joint practices, in essence, replace preseason games, does the league look into different things that they can do with that? Are there different, regulations that they want to put into place in terms of the settings for these, in terms of the organization? All those things probably have to get looked at because, and I'm going off the top of my head here. What did we have? 20 joint practices, and there were probably videos of, fights in a dozen of them. It was a fairly common thing, and this is a particularly bad example. So I would fully anticipate, like with everything, the NFL will examine how these are being used and whether there's different protocols that should be put into place.
Tom, I'm going to keep it in the AFC North. Lamar Jackson with the Ravens, do you think that they get the deal done, or do you think this will be kind of the last year we'll see him in a Ravens uniform?
Well, I don't think it's going to be the last season we see him in a Ravens uniform because they've got a couple of franchise tags that they can use beyond this season. And that's where Lamar Jackson is in, kind of a unique spot here where he's much closer. He's played out his rookie deal. Not many franchise quarterbacks, certainly not guys who've won the MVP, play out their 5th-year option, which is he is about to do if they don't get this deal done. But they still have 2 more years, in essence, of team control because those franchise tags are cost controlled until you would get to a 3rd one, which is an astronomical number. Is he willing to play the entire thing out? Is he willing to go through 2022, 23, and 24, and then be in a position like what Kirk Cousins was, where you get into unfettered free agency and all that brings? You're talking about taking on a ton of injury risk. You're talking about time value of money. He's making a lot more money than he was making a year ago because the 5th-year option is worth $20+ million. Last year he was making, I think it's like $3 million or something like that. So if he was willing to play for that small number last year, he's going to play for this number too. But it's a unique situation also because he doesn't have an agent. No agent that I know would have let him go on the field last year as a former NFL MVP and played for as little money as he did. They would have pushed to get the deal done. Lamar played out that season. He certainly is acting like he's willing to play out this season as well. But, keep an eye on this all the way up to potentially the day before their opener. There have been a lot of deals historically that when you have a deadline at the start of the regular season, they go all the way down to that Saturday or that Sunday before they actually get done.
So, Tom, we're on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, so let's get to the meat and potatoes. What do you think about these Browns over here?
Browns are a very talented football team. I did make it through there in camp. It happened to be the day that Deshaun Watson's initial 6-game suspension came down, so I probably didn't see as much practice as I would have otherwise seen on that particular day. But, I think Andrew Berry made one of the shrewd moves of the offseason, acquired Amari Cooper for a 5th-round draft pick, which in hindsight, when you look at what other receivers were going for, is remarkable value, and they were willing to take on that $20 million salary. They've obviously got a couple of backs who are really good. They're stacked at tight end. Their offensive line has been a strength for that football team. And then they got a ton of talented guys on defense, starting out with Myles Garrett. It all comes down to, in football terms, the quarterback position. They now have clarity on, the fact they're not going to have Deshaun Watson for the first 11 games of this season. It's going to be a different type of a process because Deshaun will be back in the building in October. He can be practicing in November. And meanwhile, barring an additional acquisition, it's going to be Jacoby Brissett starting for that period of time. Brissett has started under difficult circumstances before. He's somebody who's played in the league. The knock on Brissett has really just been, he doesn't always see it and rip it. He's a little bit risk averse in terms of getting the football out. But on a team that's going to revolve very much around Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and that running game, it's not the worst thing to have somebody who at least is going to take care of the football, especially because part of the reason, and it was just one of the reasons that Baker Mayfield, they decided to move on from him ultimately, was the fact that there were times where they thought he was too loose with the football, was giving it away when they're built really to pound it, run the football, play good defense, and make enough plays in the passing game.
Tom, I've been yelling at the Clouds for over a week now to go get Jimmy G. They have one viable NFL quarterback on the roster, and he's a backup as far as I'm concerned. What's the future of Jimmy Garoppolo, and where do you think ultimately he lands? I mean, at this point, if a team was going to come get him, I'd imagine the trade would have been made by now. I'm assuming the Niners are going to release him in a couple of days. Tell me if I'm wrong, and then where ultimately you think he lands.
Well, the 49ers are going to play this out till the last possible minute, whether they perceive that to be next Tuesday at the 53-man cutdown, or they perceive that to be the Tuesday before week 1, where then he would have his salary be locked in for that week. Is it the Saturday where it would become fully guaranteed for the season? I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can look at it, but they've been, sitting there and trying to be patient in a tough deal with the shoulder surgery and seeing whether something shakes loose around the league. I mean, there's definitely, I would anticipate something is happening here, yes, in the coming days. But part of the issue with bringing in Jimmy Garoppolo to a situation like Cleveland is you don't necessarily know that Jimmy Garoppolo can go play at the start of the season. He's throwing it. Everyone I've talked to says he's got good velocity on the football, but there's a difference between throwing the ball on the side in practice and actually going out and throwing on the move and throwing across your body and having to move in the pocket and all those types of things. And also just building up the tolerance in your shoulder to throw as much as NFL quarterbacks do in the course of a given week or a given game. That's not to say Jimmy Garoppolo can't be ready to start week 1, but it's part of the evaluation process that, hey, we haven't seen this guy even practice, much less play in a game since he underwent the shoulder surgery. So if you're the Browns and you're going, we just need a guy for 11 games. Number one, does Jimmy Garoppolo want to go into that situation knowing that he's ultimately going to be replaced in December? And number two, if of those 11 games, Garoppolo only is ready to play 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever it might be, it's just a really difficult type of a trade to do. That doesn't mean it won't happen, but I think it's probably fair to say that it's more likely at this point that the Browns could become involved if, in fact, Jimmy Garoppolo does end up getting released.
Can teams get any sort of assurance on what you were just talking about, that he's ready to throw under these circumstances? Like, I don't know. I mean, you expect the 49ers to be honest with you about how he looks in camp? Like, what sort of assurance, or are teams just sort of firing blind on him?
If the 49ers want to trade him, they're going to have to. I mean, they certainly would already give access to his scans and everything else, but there's been plenty of situations through the years where you go in and work somebody out. Joe Montana years ago went in and worked out for the Chiefs before they ended up with him. I mean, there's plenty of those occasions. It's just, you're right up against the start of the season here. He's also got to learn an offense. He's got to learn a scheme. There's a lot of different, complicated parts of it. Absolutely. If somebody were willing to offer the 49ers something for Jimmy Garoppolo, they would do whatever it takes to ensure that trade can happen. But, again, at this stage, it's such a difficult type of a trade to do. We'll see whether something comes together. And, of course, we've still got some preseason games here where there's a bunch of starting quarterbacks around the league that are playing. There's a bunch of backup quarterbacks that are playing. There's something all of a sudden shake loose, Teddy Bridgewater style at the last second here. We'll find out.
Tom, we've talked a lot about on this show about the trade rumors involving Kareem Hunt. I hate the idea of the Browns trading Kareem Hunt unless they somehow could get a top 25 receiver, which is obviously, well, at least I think it's impossible. I don't like the idea of trading him for a draft pick or some, random third wide receiver. I don't know. Do you think? I think that's the Browns' strength. As long as Jacoby Brissett's the quarterback, it's having two elite running backs that nobody else really does. Do you expect Kareem Hunt to get traded?
I would fairly say, based on my understanding, it's unlikely that Kareem Hunt gets traded, but not impossible. We know that he wants to get paid a lot of money to play that position. There's not a ton of teams that want to give up significant draft capital, the type it would take for the Browns to trade him and then also pay him at that position. So all that leads you to believe that it's going to be very much the Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt 1-2 punch in that Browns backfield again. They do, though, have numbers at the position. So whether it's Kareem Hunt or Dearness Johnson, I would think that Andrew Berry is going to be fielding some calls, and there might be an opportunity to make some type of move at that position here before the cutdown.
Tom, another concern that the Browns fan base have is the defensive tackle position. Is there any names that you can see being released on the 53 that the Browns can get, or is there any veterans out there that you can see the Browns going to get to ensure up this defensive tackle position for the season?
It's a great question because the two positions that always seem to have the most teams in need this time of year are defensive line and offensive line, and inevitably the supply is far short of the demand in that regard. So there's always the possibility that veterans are going to shake loose. It's just not as likely at that position because special teams doesn't factor as much in decisions at the defensive line position, where there's probably going to be a bunch of pretty good, like well-known veteran running backs who end up getting cut or traded down the stretch here. Just because if you're a third running back, you don't play special teams, you're not making the roster. You don't have that concern at defensive tackle. Nobody has enough depth at that position. So, without getting into names, because off the top of my head, it's a little bit difficult to give you the correct ones. I would just say that's a difficult position to find guys, but it's certainly always possible. You just don't know. It's based upon who's got numbers at what positions and who they decide to make available.
Yeah, I remember last year the Bengals, right before the season, traded for B.J. Hill from the Giants, who ended up having a really good year as their third D tackle, and eventually when what's his name? He used to be on the Browns. Got hurt.
Larry Ogunjobi.
Yeah, Ogunjobi got hurt. He became a starter. He played well. But you're right. It is rare that happens. But do you, besides Kareem Hunt and the guys we've mentioned, Kareem Hunt and Jimmy Garoppolo, is there any other big names, whether it's the Browns or not, any other team, that you think could be traded right here in the next week or two?
I can't tell you that. What do you want me to do here, Adam? I'm going to give you the whole list? Come on, man. I can't give away everything here 4 days out from the deadline.
What about
the NFL Network? I hear
what about Jalen Reagor for the Eagles? Isn't he like a
Jalen Reagor's a name that's come up plenty. That one's been out there for a year. It's just what he's a former first-round draft pick. He's going into year 3 here. Do you sell on him, at a cut rate?
What about
somebody who you evaluated him highly enough, you took him above Justin Jefferson. You obviously, believed in the guy and the speed and the differences that he could make in the game. That's always a tough one for GMs. It's just you get to a certain point with players and this is the best we're going to be able to do. I mean, the Eagles just traded J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, another receiver that they drafted highly, and they traded him for Ugo Amadi, who they then traded again to the Titans for a late-round pick flop in 2024. Jalen Reagor's not at that level yet where it's going to be a giveaway for nothing. They're still going to be looking for value. It's a tough player to get value for, but there are a bunch of teams that need wide receivers right now. And so, whether it's teams like the Bears, who are, I went through that camp and they clearly have needs to upgrade the talent level at that position, or somebody, they already traded for N'Keal Harry there, another guy who didn't work out as a former first-round pick. That's a position where everybody's going to be looking. Everybody's trying to trade, and this happens every year, like their 6th wide receiver. But that doesn't really move the needle for a whole lot of people. Everybody's looking for, can we actually get like a starting caliber receiver? Denzel Mims' agent just requested a trade. Mims is a really talented guy. He was a 2nd-round pick a couple of years ago. For whatever reason, the Jets coaching staff just hasn't put him on the field. A guy like that comes in, but you're not thinking, okay, if you're the Browns and you trade for Denzel Mims, that he's stepping in and he's making a difference right away. That's like a developmental type of thing. You see far more of those types of players at this time of year than the star types.
Tyvus asked you about Lamar Jackson. I want to look at the other 2 quarterback situations in this division because we talked about the Browns, we talked about the Ravens. Obviously, Joe Burrow had the appendectomy before the preseason and missed, early camp. Where is he right now? And as for the Steelers, you hear, maybe Kenny Pickett. I don't know. What do you make of the Steelers? Who do you expect it to be Trubisky? So what do you think about that?
Joe Burrow feels good. From the start, I was there, I think, the day after he had the appendectomy, and everybody said it didn't seem like it was something where you're going to have an overly complicated type of a recovery. They expected him back well before week 1, and sure enough, a couple weeks later, back on the practice field. And he said it the other day, he thinks he could go out and play, 11 on 11 right now. So really no concern that I've heard with Joe Burrow. In terms of what's happening in Pittsburgh, Mitch Trubisky still is at the front of the line here going into this final week of the preseason, but Kenny Pickett's coming fast. I mean, he's played really well to this point. You see, he started like 50 games in college playing a pro-style offense. He was the most pro-ready quarterback in this draft. It's also just one of those deals where if you go to Kenny Pickett right now in week 1, you can't bench Kenny Pickett.
Right.
That ship has kind of sailed. If you start with Mitch Trubisky and then you get halfway through the season and you go, okay, now we're going to Kenny Pickett, that's a way easier transition. Kenny Pickett's the future for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but if they had to play a game right now, my belief is Mitch Trubisky would still be the guy.
Mikey, McNuggets, you got something?
Yeah, Tom, a name here in Cleveland that still moves the needle is Baker Mayfield. I know you covered the entire league, so is the revenge game between Baker and this Browns defense the number one thing you're looking forward to in week 1 of the NFL season?
It's up there. I mean, you got Russell Wilson versus the Seahawks too, which is going to be pretty good. But I'll say this for Baker, and I know there's a lot of people who have different opinions about Baker for a lot of different reasons. I will take a pissed off Baker Mayfield on my team for 1 year. If you're the Panthers and you're trying to win, and there's at least some level of concern you would think about, is this program heading in the right direction? How many games do we have to win to make sure we can carry on here? I'll take Baker going out if he can stay healthy to play that 1 year, chip on the shoulder, whatever cliche you want to use, because that's really always been a part of his makeup. It's hard to do that when you're in Cleveland and you're the number 1 overall pick. We saw him play, really good football in 2020 and lead them to their first, lead the Browns to their first playoff win in decades, but then everything that happened last year, the way that things ended, the disrespect that Baker Mayfield thought that he felt from the Cleveland Browns, all of which, whatever he says going into this game, that he's going to come out and he's going to play pissed off. If you're the Browns, you're hoping he plays too pissed off and starts handing you the football. But I'll take the guy being motivated and coming in and wanting to win, not just this game, but through this whole season. Because let's be honest, he can make himself a lot of money here if he plays well for the Panthers. Then he's in a situation he's on the option where he could get franchise tagged, or potentially he could get to the free agent market and cash in if he's playing well.
Well, Tom, I'll just say this, that so we've got a lot of varied opinions in Cleveland, and I'm looking at the body of work, because I look at the body of work. Baker Mayfield is his own worst enemy. He really is, right? And if you look at his body of work doesn't say I'm a standout here. I mean, he's just an average guy. Look at his numbers, right? And we can always go to one year where he had a series of good games. But if you look at the total body of work, right, it is just basic. It's just a basic guy. And so for us here in this market, I think we are really waiting for this first game, because I don't care if he got 10 chips on his shoulders. I'm going to see you here on this first day. Yes, I am. Right? Because we got some scores to settle here. There's some issues to settle here. Right? And he divided the locker room, Tom, here. It's not, that's hard to do, right? When you're the number one, when you're the number one player here.
The conversations across the line between Baker and the Browns are going to be slightly different than the conversations across the line between Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. Just a wild guess. The language, I'd say every part of it, maybe just a little bit different, but it's going to be fun. I mean, there's so much. We've been looking forward to so many things. I feel like, I've said this before, this felt like the longest NFL offseason in history. I've covered the league for 20 years, and so much happened in March. The coaching cycle went later. It went all the way into February with some of those hires. Then you have things happening later in the process, like Bruce Arians and Sean Payton. You had all those trades, like 10 different trades, all involving Pro Bowl players. Then you still had the draft. Like, all that stuff, I feel like we've played 5 seasons since then. We've still not seen Russell Wilson in a Broncos uniform, Devontae Adams in a Raiders uniform, Carson Wentz in a Commanders uniform, Baker Mayfield in a Panthers uniform. I'm just happy, guys. Like, we're finally going to get to actually see the games and have something to talk about, like, just so we can kind of move this whole thing forward. And then guess what? We're going to get to 10 other, controversies and other things that we're talking about by the time week 1's over.
Tom, great stuff, man. We appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
We're watching you on NFL Network, of course. Thanks to Tom Pelissero for joining us. Mikey, did you have something you wanted to share with the rest of the class?
No, I was just going to say we had time for one more question, but we cut him loose, so perfect.
We're keeping it moving here. Keeping it moving.
Do you want to do your 2 minutes on your solo topic here real quick?
Well, it's not really a solo topic. I wanted to bring it up for everybody. But, I think with this, how do you say the guy's last name, this Bills punter? Matt Aradia? So obviously we've seen this story has popped up over the last, I don't even know if it's been 24 hours since the story has broken here. And I think as Browns fans, we need to be careful, okay? I don't think Browns fans need to be looking for every guy that gets in trouble and say, see, they're not doing anything to him. Let's remember that there is a 18-year-old girl who was 17 at the time of this incident that is accusing this player and 2 others of raping her. So let's not be flippant about, this is not about Watson. This is about the situation. Plus, it's stupid, guys, to bring up Watson in this case to say, they're not picking on him as much. It's been 24 hours. Yeah. The Watson thing went on for months and months. I think, Brad, you give me a side eye here.
No, I'm listening to you.
It's just one of them things.
This is a very serious thing.
This is very serious.
And by the way, if nothing else, because he admitted to having sex with this woman, if nothing else, he committed statutory rape because she was 17 years old at the time, even if everything else is untrue.
That whole story is crazy, and it's one of them ones that I ain't even gonna comment on until everything comes out.
I don't think we have all the facts here, right?
I gotta wait till everything come out.
The reports I've read, there was some allegations made, and then there was some people that obviously that said we're at the party, said that didn't happen. So I don't think in any investigative nature you can even comment on that.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
I can say that the allegations themselves are very, very serious, very troubling.
And she did go to the police to report this, I believe, the next day after it happened. Jason?
It's awful. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And let's wait and see what else comes out. It's so early on. It's been less than 24 hours.
Right.
But it's horrifying. It's disgusting and it's horrifying.
And again, it goes to the point of, like, there's always going to be another incident, not just in football, in every walk of life, you know. So but take it easy on why are they not picking on this guy? First of all, beyond that it's been 24 hours, you know, Deshaun Watson is a superstar in the league. So any story about a superstar is going to be bigger than a rookie punter. Even though he had a cool nickname, which now we can't call him that anymore, but
it was like the
punt god or something like that. Anyway, on a much lighter note, guys, where did these rankings come from again, Mike?
This is from The Ringer.
Oh, The Ringer,
and
right.
they did an all-in index, which pretty much looked at.
Yes.
Steve, let's take let's take 68 here, the VO, and just kind of explain to the people what this is. They looked at how each team is spending their money and the team's draft capital, and it's the value of the picks, not the players chosen, and how much they're spending an annual average to rank which teams are the most all-in this year and next year, and which teams are clearly building for the future.
Okay.
And cut to the next one, Steve.
Yeah.
Let's keep this moving to give the people the information they need. These are the rankings. These are their all-index rankings. The Rams were the most all-in, and the Browns and the Broncos were tied for second. It says 2 and 3. They're tied at 123.
All right.
For second, meaning the Browns are as all-in as any team in the league, and here's the reasoning if we cut one more, Steve.
Okay.
They're 5th overall in spending. Mm-hmm. They're 3rd in the least draft capital, and the bottom line was they're all-in on Deshaun Watson. They say the championship window's 2 years. Are you guys buying that timeline?
They're saying the Browns' championship window is 2 years.
Before they run into some serious contractual issues.
I actually kind of agree with that.
That's actually on point.
It might be less, actually.
Right.
It could be 2 or less because right now they're able to do everything and have that wiggle room because of the way that they structured a lot of people's deals. But once those cap numbers hit, it's going to be a lot of players that's going to have to be let go because they can't afford to keep them all. And on top of that, running back, we got Nick Chubb. Running backs don't last that long in the league, so you got to really expedite this process here.
You just made my point to go get Jimmy G. If you get a 2-year window and you're going to waste 11 games on Jacoby Brissett, but
it's not wasting 11 games.
He's a backup.
This is the thing. We got to stop. We panicked. Didn't you just say this? You panicking.
No, it's not a
panic.
This is the thing. They signed Jacoby Brissett. They signed Jacoby Brissett thinking it was going to be 4 to 6 games.
He's not going to be ready to play week 1 anyway.
You don't need him for week 1. You need him for week 5.
So what if Jacoby Brissett goes out there and have a great game?
You need him.
Good problem to have.
That's what so then you'll be paying somebody that you might not even use.
Look at the schedule from week 5 to week 11. That's when you need Jimmy Garoppolo.
Let me tell you something. I'm not a fool. I'm not giving away $20 million for 5 games.
You don't have to.
No, if he gets cut,
it's
at this point, I wouldn't trade for him.
I don't want to side rail. I don't want to go backwards on the topic.
Yeah.
But to go back to what Tyvis was saying and go back to this point, obviously I think those are the right calls. Less Snead with the Rams, less F them pick Snead with the number 1 team. The Broncos just went and got Russell Wilson. The 49ers just traded 3 picks to go get Trey Lance, and obviously the Browns on Deshaun. And the reason it's a 2-year window, they have $50 million in cap space now. They're trying to roll over, which goes back to the Jimmy question. They're $30 million over the cap next year. That's why it's a 2-year window. They can roll the money from this year into next year, and after that, you got a lot of decisions to make, and you got to start playing cap gymnastics.
Here, Mikey, bring me that graphic back about the teams that are all in. I'm going to tell you what. There's a common denominator here with all these teams, right? Desperation. The Rams were desperate, right?
They won a Super Bowl. They ain't desperate. They're still drilling.
But they were when they made the moves.
Take off this, because that started last year when they went all in and started getting people.
There ain't no pressure on them now. They got the rings and the hangover.
This is the remainder of that. They're caught up in the middle of the run, right? So look at the Broncos. The Broncos are tired of being in the position they've been in. The Browns have been in a futility position for basically since the time they've come back to town here. And the Dolphins are the Dolphins. I got to talk about the Dolphins.
The Dolphins is a little
Honestly, I
curious
think
to me.
these rankings are stupid. The Dolphins and 49ers, I don't know how they're all in. Neither has a particularly good
because
quarterback.
the 49ers traded all their picks for
Yeah,
trade.
they got to pay Nick Bosa here soon, so they're going to be out of
I
money.
don't know. I think the ratings are stupid. What I would say,
all of those teams made significant major trades within the last year.
to get a quarterback, right? But that's
Tyreek Hill doesn't play quarterback.
They're desperate.
well, I don't know that the Dolphins are all in with Tua.
That's the one that's a little head scratching.
Yeah,
They about
but
to
here's
they
the
about
thing.
to trade for Lamar Jackson.
To your point on Garoppolo, at this point, I don't think the Browns should trade for Garoppolo. But if the Niners cut him, which I think they will,
That's
at
different.
that point they should
That's
sign him and
different.
bring
That's
him in.
different. That's
Well, the
different.
problem
That's what
is,
I do. Because he's not playing the first month anyway. There's no rush to get him.
if he gets cut, I think if they want to increase their chances of landing him, they would have to trade for him because if he gets cut
I'm not
and
coming
it's
for
his
5 games.
decision, why would I come here
Come
for
for
11
5
games?
games.
I'm basically in the
It
same
ain't gonna be
situation.
11
where
games.
else is
He ain't starting anywhere else except for maybe Seattle.
Miami.
No.
Miami's not taking him.
He's not
They
starting.
wouldn't. Why would he not? He could go right in there and play. The Jets.
No.
He could go right in there and
He's
play
not
right
starting for
away.
the Jets.
He could go right in there and play. It's the same
They
offensive
got a rookie
scheme that he's
quarterback.
been doing.
They got a young quarterback. They're not benching Zach Wilson.
He out for like what,
Well,
4 weeks?
Nah, at the most.
No, the only team
You
I
said
think,
he wouldn't come for 11 games. Zach Wilson's not going to miss
You're
11
right.
games. Seattle, I guess he could start.
Seattle's
but,
the
Seattle.
only
but
team.
they stink.
But I mean, it appears to me that Seattle wants to just take their lumps this year and go and get a quarterback
of the
in the
teams
draft.
that would be interested, where
have
would he have a chance to play more with a good team than the
I
Browns?
totally agree with you.
Miami.
He has the best supporting cast
But
here.
I just don't buy that Miami wants him.
His
Miami
offensive
has zero interest in Jimmy G.
His offensive coordinator.
We don't know that, and you're right.
Y'all say that
Just
now.
because they've said publicly they don't. I just think they're in on Tua.
If he's a free agent, I think a lot of people would bring him in.
Right, but a lot of people would bring him in as a backup, where for the Browns, if he's healthy enough, he would start until Watson came back.
Well, he'd be technically a backup for the first couple of weeks until he gets.
Yeah,
the
but just because
playbook.
he's not going to start for
So
anybody.
now he's not
Well,
going
I
to
don't-
play 11 games. He's going
I
to play
don't- I
like
don't-
8,
Yeah, but
7 or 8.
where else is he definitely going to play 7 or 8 games?
Seattle.
But Seattle stinks.
And
so I don't-
Tua's on the clock. We need to cut it out.
I hear you. He might be. Didn't Jacksonville or didn't Miami bring in a veteran backup?
Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, okay.
I don't know. I don't buy Jimmy Garoppolo's any better than Teddy Bridgewater personally,
Wow.
but I think they're the same.
Wow. The disrespect on
Yeah,
this man.
I don't think Jimmy G's that good, but he's better than Jacoby Brissett. But here's the thing: getting back to the initial point of like these, I never like these things. This idea that there's this 2-year window to win is really dumb. It's only a 2-year window to win if the Browns have bad. If you think Andrew Berry sucks as a GM, because the salary cap problems are only problems if you can't draft and develop young players. See, the good teams if they have a quarterback, the good teams keep their window open as long as they have that quarterback if they draft well. The Browns have to go at it a different way, right? Like, the Browns have spent a lot in free agency in recent years. Not as much this year, but the last few years, they've spent a lot, and they've extended Watson, Garrett, Ward, 5 for $100.
Amari Cooper, that was his deal.
Well, that wasn't with the Browns.
I'm just saying currently he's on
Yeah,
the
but
Browns with that deal.
that's
What
a
year
bad
is
one.
he in? He got
That
like
shouldn't
2
be on there because that deal's almost over. But they extended Bitonio. They extended Teller.
Yeah.
So there's other guys they paid money to. So now the Browns, going forward, have to do it differently. They have to get it right in the draft.
Yeah.
They have to make smart, veteran, cheaper free agent signings.
That's because
that's how they do it differently. If they do that well, then this window will go as long as Watson's
Well,
the
yeah,
quarterback.
but you also, Bull, you have to take into account that depending on the market we're in. Like, you're in Dallas, you can do that because you're going to make so much money on other things that you can supplement some of it. LA, you can do that. In San Francisco, you can do that because you can supplement other things. Now, Cleveland, you got to be smart here. It's a short window here in Cleveland, and this is all the sports here. You have a short window for excellence here, and then you got to start.
But why?
Because
what's the difference?
What
in
the
football?
difference is that you said that they're going to be dependent on the guys that they draft and develop. You forgot the fact that they traded away a bunch of picks. So now
traded 3
now
picks.
that
Who
these
cares?
guys that they're developing is not first round picks.
you
These
can't-
are people that are
That's all
going
right.
later
If you're
in
a
the
good
draft.
team and you draft well, you don't need all the
But you can't,
You find the talent.
hold on to a bunch of people in these markets because you can't pay everybody. Here,
No, you ain't-
the longer you
yeah,
stay here,
people
people
is-
want to be paid.
I know know that, but in football, it's a salary cap. The Green Bay, Green Bay stayed good forever.
If I want $20 million, I don't care if I got it from New Orleans or Cleveland.
But Deshaun Watson can be that level of quarterback, in my opinion.
He's going to have to be.
Yes.
You hope that they can do exactly what you're talking about. We don't have the evidence or proof of that. You hope they can do that.
Right.
You know you have the roster to win right now.
Right.
That's
Agreed.
the difference.
Yes.
You hope that that Nick Harris is a 5th-round pick before he gets hurt, can grow into that guy, that DPJ is
But that's already happened. But those things are already now.
No, but I'm saying down the road, you hope that can continue, but we don't have the proof that they can do that. Where's the evidence that they can draft well and develop guys?
Well, but they have drafted pretty well the last couple of years.
Nick Harris, you would hope, would have been that guy, that they could continue that into the future. But you know you have a roster right now that can win
this
now
GM has
for
put
2
together.
years before they have to start getting creative.
You also know this, Jason. You also know this, that you can go to any sport. You cannot carry high-level, high-money-making dudes all the time. You just cannot.
I don't agree with that.
There's which sport? Take
football,
take baseball away.
Right.
No, take football, basketball. Yeah. You get a core set of guys, and then the money comes into play, and they start moving people.
Yeah, but why? If LeBron had wanted to stay here, wouldn't Gilbert would have kept paying?
No, listen. No, Dan blinked. Like, people don't realize
last year
when Dan blinked, when it got to the end with the repeater tax in the NBA.
But wasn't that because he knew LeBron was going to leave again? Didn't that factor in?
Like, I'm trying to do this off the top of my head. I think it was was it Vereshao? There was somebody that they moved that they didn't have to, but they moved him to get the money off the books because of the repeat offender.
Well,
but that's down the road. That's 5 years later.
So, Jason, you know how Jordan ended up in Washington?
Miami cut Mike Miller because of the repeat offender.
You know how Jordan ended up in Washington?
Right.
Because Rogers wasn't going to pay anymore. I gave you this $30 million. You're not getting a dime more. It's over. That's how he ended up in Washington.
Even Joe Lacob.
But then you're saying that's every team, not just Cleveland.
I'm saying because most of these owners, they have a limit. They have a limit.
Right, but you know what? For years, Jimmy Haslam, because they had a crappy team and they never drafted good players, he was way under the cap. All other teams are paying more. Listen, I've killed Jimmy, but I have reason to believe that Jimmy won't have a problem having being right at the salary cap for a number of years if he needs to. I don't think the Browns are going to lose Deshaun Watson or key players because of money. Now, eventually, if you have so many guys, you have that many players, you got to let some guys go. We saw what happened in Seattle's defense. Their defense fell apart.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Where are you willing
But they didn't draft well after that.
Where are you willing to take the hit at? Because you got a quarterback, you got a DN, you got a corner. You got 3 positions.
You know where you take the hit?
Where?
Guards. They've got $30 million invested in their guards.
In 2 years, you're going to move on from Batonio.
Well, I guess you...
Right? You're going to move on from Amari Cooper. You got to get young receivers. You got to develop.
You needed $15 million guards when Baker was your quarterback. You don't need $15 million guards.
Certainly not
with
2.
Deshaun Watson. Not 2
And Batonio's probably got another year or 2 at a high level, and then he'll start to decline.
That's one of the spots where you're going to...
Amari Cooper, you're not going to pay him that kind of money maybe even after this year. So you'll find... they'll find ways.
The one thing
that
you said, you have to be smart. You have to be smart on how you're structuring this going forward, because it's not writing a blank check for years. It's like there's some strategy here. So you hope that Barry and Haslam are on the same page, and there's an extraction piece here, because every year somebody's going to get extracted from here, right? And we're going to fill the void with somebody else. Right. It's really about moving money around, because Watson's going nowhere. He's going to get all that money here in Cleveland.
Yes, he is.
Well, the number one thing that they have to make sure that they keep, if they want to keep this window, is they have to keep a running game. So you would hope Jerome Ford and Dearness Johnson can turn into the future of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
Right. And Nick Chubb, I think
is their plan.
You never know. You're right. Running backs. I mean, look at Todd Gurley. Like 3-4 years ago, he's the best running back he's had a league.
That was a shame.
Right. I mean, we see that. But there's also Adrian Petersons, who are great into their 30s. It's less common. And maybe because they haven't given Nick Chubb every single carry that he can last longer. And to this point, now it happened quick for Gurley, but to this point, there's been no signs of decline for Nick Chubb. There's no reason to believe, at least for another 2-3 years, he won't be really good. But yes, you have to have those guys coming up. The next, and right now, at wide receiver, we don't, or we don't know.
It seems like right now, if I was to look at this Browns team, now they're taking the hit at wide receiver and defensive tackle. Those are the 2 spots that they're like, we're going to go in the season, our playbook, the way we're going to call plays, it doesn't matter who's in there, they should be able to at least make this play. And that's kind of where it looks like. If I looked at the Browns, that's the 2 hits.
And that's why, over the next couple of years, we're going to see, are they able to draft young, like David Bell? What's he going to be? We're all... he's a rookie. We don't know what he's going to be. What if at the end of this year he has 912 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's what we feel really good
Then
about
it will
him.
open up that window just a tad bit more.
That's why they moved on from Landry. Like, we're not paying this money. We're going to try
That's
somebody
right.
else. We're not
They're
paying
like,
this money.
the Browns believe they can get the production, different type of player, but they can get the production that Landry gave them for less money. And you've got to find the areas. That's why they did it with Treader, obviously.
I think that the best times to capitalize on Super Bowls is when you have a rookie quarterback before he gets paid. Because now you got a whole bunch of money to throw it somewhere else.
Right.
This is the last year of
that's Joe Burrow. He ain't got paid yet, so they can
But he's
spend the
going to
money.
get paid after this year.
They're going to have to start saving. You see, Jesse Bates can't get paid. And
he came back to the team, though.
Oh, yeah. He seen Daxton Hills made an interception. He said, I better get back on in there.
And Tyvis, to your point, the Deshaun suspension was an absolute worst-case scenario for the Browns because with 6 games is when his contract becomes eligible for this year. So he's a $10 million cap hit this year and a $55 million cap hit next year. If it was 12 or 13 games, I believe, not 100%, but I believe the contract then counts next year as $10 million. Everything gets pushed back a year.
Yeah.
So it was an absolute worst-case scenario.
Well, if
for
they
the
don't
Browns.
make the playoffs.
No, I'm just saying in general with the way that Deshaun's contract is structured.
Right, no, I get what you're saying. But ultimately,
year.
if they make the playoffs this year, then you don't worry about that. Who cares?
Sure, but I'm just saying 6 games is the threshold for the contract to count this year, and that's the minimum that he's going to play.
Well, they're going to have to be creative with the cap and renegotiate.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Accrued season.
Thank you.
3 seasons for
it was a big deal with Le'Veon Bell.
Accredited year, 6 for accrued.
Everybody made that big deal with Le'Veon Bell. We were talking about that a lot.
It was a big deal when I was playing. All I really cared was the 3.
Mikey,
The 6 got you closer to free agency.
Mike, I'm hungry.
We feel like we attack this conversation from all angles. Ready to move on?
Oh, what you got?
I don't know. You started pointing
3 years. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Saying we got the internet says next.
3
years.
3 years moves your money. 6 years.
I
get
thought
you
you had
closer
to read
free
a Built
agency.
Bar ad, so I was
Bam.
setting you up with I'm
Remember
hungry.
that.
I do have to do a Built Bar. That's a great point. And you know what I had
why I
this
was
morning
saying I
for
was
breakfast?
hungry. Yeah.
I had a delicious Built Bar as I pull up these bullet points. Built Bar, you know what's great about Built Bar? Screw the bullet points. I had 2 this morning because I was hungry. I worked out this morning. It charged me, refueled me.
What you do, upper body or lower?
Did a little chest this morning.
Okay.
Little chest, yeah.
No,
little
just
little
skip legs, huh?
No, legs was yesterday. You got to switch upper
Mike
lower
has
body.
a little chest, so he does a little chest.
Gotta do it.
I did
If I don't
legs
lift, I go tiny.
yesterday.
If I don't eat my Built Bars, I become like paper
weaker.
thin. I turn
That's
sideways.
right.
You can't see me.
Yep.
I had the chocolate dough chunk this morning. It was divine. I recommend
Cookie
it.
dough chunk, right? Is that what you told me?
Cookie dough, chocolate chunk. It's all chunky. It's delicious.
He said that.
All you got to know is
He
if
said
you're
that
not
to
eating
make me
Built
think of
Bars,
Mitchell's.
you're not doing it right, and you could use promo code LOCKDOWN15 for 15% off at Built.com.
All right.
Bill,
So,
thanks for setting me up there.
By the
What's
way,
the internet saying?
By the way, before we get to that, speaking of breakfast, I went to. Anybody been to Grumpy's ever? Been to Grumpy's?
I'm not a
is
big
that?
breakfast eater.
Where's that at?
I tell you what though, Wendy's got them French toast sticks.
Wendy's.
Woo! Hey, you get some powdered sugar.
Wendy's with powdered
I'm talking about a
sugar.
look business here, Tyvis.
Go ahead. Do it again.
Grumpy's is
Hold
on-
on.
Yeah, yeah.
Do it again.
Are you licking your toes?
Oh my God. Grumpy's is on West 14th.
I went to Grumpy's with Brian Windhurst when Brian was in town. Brian and I went to breakfast at Grumpy's. It took me a minute. I'm like, where did I think
Yeah, it's a great it's a breakfast lunch place. Great. I got like an egg scramble with Cajun potatoes, bacon, and pork. What's that? Chorizo. Pork chorizo.
It sounds actually pretty good. Actually.
Grumpy's is great. It's
Great
Where
breakfast.
is it at?
West 14th.
And what?
I think is that technically Ohio City or Tremont? I think.
I don't know.
West
I put it
14th.
in
I don't know where the
GPS.
borderlines are.
I'm a suburb guy. I put
I
it
think
in
it's
GPS
Tremont.
and went
I
where
think
it
it's
told me to
Tremont.
go.
Grumpy's?
Grumpy's, yeah. And then there's a nice new, a couple of years ago they added that entrance to 90 right over there.
Oh, that's right
So
up my
that's
alley.
sweet.
That's perfect.
Anyway,
We
shout out
suck,
to
guys.
Grumpy's. I had a good breakfast this morning.
So
All
we
right.
alluded to this yesterday.
Yeah.
And this is what the internet's saying. And before we tell you what they're saying,
Please.
let's tell you who brings it to us. It's our best friends over at PCC Airfoils. Are you looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Mentor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and signing bonuses. Apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more.
She stood on the tracks, waving her arms, leading me to that PCC shock.
That was good. I liked it.
It's an obscure Billy Joel song called Awful Lane. It's a great song. Check it out. Go ahead. What do we got?
So we referenced it yesterday real quick. Let's take the tweet here. Josina Anderson tweeted this on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
Keep an eye on how things are going with Josh Rosen.
Very odd tweet.
Very odd tweet. We got no clarification. So these are 2 internet responses we got to that, and then I'll tell you what she was actually referring to. Let's cut to the first one, Anthony.
Okay.
Let's cut to the second one, Anthony.
Wait.
Exactly. No one knows what she's referring to.
By the way, bad job out of you guys putting this one up. This is the most overused. The 2 most overused memes or GIFs or whatever the hell they're called is this one and the one with the guy eating the popcorn.
It's GIFs.
GIF, whatever the hell it is. And you know the one with the guy eating the popcorn? It's like,
So what is she talking about,
all the
Mike?
time.
So Josina's been
Yeah.
a guest on the show twice.
She's awesome.
Yeah, she's the best. So I'm not sure if she knew this, but I think she has access to our rundowns. And she saw in our rundowns that we were going to play the Josh Rosen game.
True.
So I think she was saying keep an eye on Josh Rosen in
Good
preview
point.
for our Josh Rosen game. So here's how it's going to work. I heard Big Cat talk about this on his podcast, that Josh Rosen has a specific kind of stat line. And I looked into it. And he's right. And you're going to see what it is in a sec. And it's a little game of real or fake with Josh Rosen stat lines.
No,
And
we all had
these-
to
So
sit
it's
up.
basically true.
It's true or false.
true or
It's just
false,
real or
basically.
fake.
Another
but
version.
these are specifically all targeted towards the same thing.
Okay.
How
And
many,
let me
how
tell
many
you,
is it?
There's 9.
No.
So
Nine.
no 50-50s. This is going to be a winner or
So
a
I'm
loser.
putting it on-
Anthony's keeping track,
Okay.
and these all follow the same trend.
All right, here we go.
Are you guys ready, Steve? Are you ready to play the first ever edition of the Josh Rosen Stat Line Real or Fake game?
Yes.
Let's hit it, Steve. Let's see the first stat line. 10 for 20, 101 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. These are all in starts. Did this happen or not?
In starts in the NFL?
NFL starts, correct.
False. Or fake. I can tell you that. Didn't y'all just hear my story? Go ahead. Y'all go ahead. Fake.
He seems awful confident, so I'll follow Tyvis and say
Yeah.
false.
Real.
I was going to say true.
Real.
I'm going to say true.
2-2 survey says.
Bro, he threw a game-winning touchdown on me. What is wrong with y'all?
Well, that doesn't mean it was that game.
This is one game.
He said it. I thought it was just any game.
No, it's all starts.
In his starts. Yeah, he started more than one game in his career. He
Oh,
started 2
okay.
seasons.
Okay.
You thought you only started one game?
Yeah.
Well, you and I lucked into that one.
We got that one.
Hey, don't get.
That was the most confident,
Yeah, we
no
just
idea
Started like
answer of all
15
time.
games, I think.
He
in his
couldn't-
career,
that's
right?
one of
He
those-
started 19 games, and
He
these are
couldn't go
9 of his
10 for
stat
12 and
lines.
1
potential.
Well, we got.
It
We
looks
want to
like
know.
Looks like a line drive in the scorebook, baby.
Yeah.
So,
1-0.
just remember
he
these
wasn't
stat lines,
terrible
by the way.
at it.
Just kind of
Casey could go
remember
10
there's
to
a
12
common
and
trend
19
here.
starts.
Go ahead.
We ready for number 2?
Y'all is
Let's take it, Steve.
Awful.
12 for 19,
I mean,
105
aren't these
yards,
all going to be like around
1
the same
touchdown,
thing?
1 interception, which is the point here that he does the exact same stat line
Okay.
every time he starts a game. Is this real or fake?
I'll say real.
I'm going true. I got to get back in the game.
Yeah, I'll say true.
I would say real. Too.
It's real or fake, guys, not true or false.
It's real or fake. You guys all said real,
Real.
and you guys are all correct. This actually was a start against the Denver Broncos.
This is sad.
Let's go to the next one, Steve. Let's keep them rolling here. These get better and better as we go along.
Go with
Take
the
it.
same stat.
11 for 26, 49 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Is this real or is this fake?
Fake.
That's true. That's real.
I'll say real.
I'm scared.
I'm scared.
I'll say fake. What the heck?
Drum roll, please. It is real.
Yeah.
Another sub 150-yard game for a starter in the
That's the
NFL.
stat line.
Jeez.
Were these all with the Cardinals? They had to be, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are we ready for the
He
next
didn't
one?
start anywhere.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
Let's take it, Steve. 13 for 22, 132 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Real or fake?
I
guy.
believe it. Real.
Poor guys.
I believe it.
That's real.
I believe it.
Real. Real. Everybody say real.
Let's see it. It is real. Another dazzling performance
Poor
from number
Josh
19.
Rosen.
Let's keep it rolling, Steve. Let's just go right to the next one.
Yeah.
This is a doozy. 12 for 23, 87 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Real or fake?
It's hard to make that up.
That's
I'll say
fake.
real.
That's
I'll say
fake.
real.
I would say fake.
You have to suck
Real.
to do that.
Jason and Bull are right. This is a very real stat line from a starting quarterback in the NFL. The sub Mendoza
Less than
line.
4 yards per
can't get
attempt.
No wonder the Cardinals
We
cut
can't
him
get
loose
a
after 1 year.
$100.
And this one, next one, guys.
But by the way,
we're not done.
You said no wonder they cut him. Should the guy who drafted him be making the next pick, by the
Oh,
way?
man.
Probably not, which he did. Go ahead.
Let's see the next one. How about this for a start? 7 for 18, 97 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Real or fake?
God.
I'm on a roll.
It's
Real.
hard to tell.
I was just gonna say real.
I mean, yeah, fake.
Fake.
It is real. Josh Rosen, another dud.
Terrible.
97 yards, 1 interception.
Poor guy.
Stop, Mikey. Stop. We were gonna change the conversation.
Can we use the gif of beating the dead horse? Stop.
God.
He's
We
dead.
got 3 more. You guys ready?
Borderline anti-Semitic at this point.
I'm half Jewish.
I'm
I know,
scared
I'm
to
kidding.
say
I'm
fake
kidding.
now.
Let's take the
got
next
Jewish
one.
too.
Okay.
That's
Another doozy. 15 for 25, 85 yards, 2 picks.
No, that's got to be
It's
fake.
gotta be fake. It's gotta be fake.
I'm going real.
Real, baby.
We're on a roll.
They all
It's
sound
so
the same
real.
to me at this
It
point.
is so real. This really happened.
Terrible.
So let me.
I don't want it. I just don't want it to be this
I have to
bad.
ask you a question.
Yeah.
Why is he even on the freaking roster? Why is he even here? Right? I can go get a couple of Ohio State dudes that sit on the sideline to do that.
Because he was a first-round pick.
No, he was.
Exactly. So that
And
means
he was going to make those 10 teams that passed on and regret it.
That
That's what he
means
says.
that when you're a first-round pick, your chances of
get more
making it
chances.
another team is highly
Let me tell you
likely.
something.
He was sabotaged by the Cardinals.
He was sabotaged by himself.
Sabotaged.
Every
We
quarter,
have 2 more.
every quarterback, every
you see
coach
that
is looking at
2-minute drill
him.
the other night?
Every quarterback's coach looking at him and saying, "I can fix that guy." Like I'll put you in situations where you won't have to do those things.
Man, you see those stat lines?
Brutal.
This next one wasn't a start, but he did play a significant amount in the game.
Okay.
Steve, let's take the stat line. 7 for 20, 88 yards, no touchdowns, no picks.
That's got to be real.
Real.
Fake. I'm all in.
That is very real, guys. That is very real.
I mean, you made it too easy by specifically saying it was not a start. I didn't think you would.
That's a good point. I totally screwed myself.
Yep.
on that one.
Yeah.
This last one.
Problem. This problem.
You ready?
Yeah.
18 of 34, 149 yards,
I mean, that's
1
for
touchdown,
him. It's a really good stat
That's a
line.
good
no interceptions. Real or fake?
Was
I'll
it? Did they play San Francisco?
This is not against San Francisco.
Okay.
I'll say fake.
That's a lot.
Is 149 yards and 1 touchdown too good to
Yeah,
be true?
that's too good for him.
That's a lot of passes.
I'll say fake.
It is real, guys. The only fake one was the first one. The other 8 were all very real stat lines from Josh Rosen's illustrious career in the NFL. And I hope Josina Anderson gives us something to come out of this because,
Well,
as Brad said, I'm not sure how he's in the league.
I don't even know how he's here. This is nothing against Josh Rosen. I mean, just there's nothing special about that. I mean,
But he's not going to be on the team, so.
I
Nothing
like,
special.
He might.
I like, what is this? What are we
Nothing
doing? here?
even mediocre about that.
God. What are we doing?
Jason won, by the way. For anyone keeping track at home, Jason is now the official winner of the Josh Rosen Stack game.
What are we
Jason,
doing here?
congratulations.
What is this?
That
Jason,
was
come on,
bad.
what are we doing?
That was
That's
brutal.
awful.
That was brutal.
That was rough.
I can't. But the guy threw a game winner on me, so he's freaking Tom Brady to me.
I saved this for a day Tyvus
slipped.
was in
Just say
because I
you
know when
slipped.
he saw those stat lines,
you
he
slipped.
wasn't going to believe that the same guy who put up those stat lines threw a
He
game
threw a
winning
touch
touchdown
like
on
your
him in the
man.
NFL.
He caught the
He
touchdown.
slipped.
Who?
So this is what happened.
He stumbled.
So we in the
I mean,
end-
that's a little embarrassing.
It is. We at the end of a game.
Yeah.
And I'm playing for San Francisco.
Here we go.
I wasn't supposed to play safety, but 2 safeties got hurt, so boom, they threw me in the game.
See what had
They
happened
get
was-
all the way down to the red zone, and we're running this red zone defense like a cover 2 type thing. And our corner is supposed to sit on the outside of number 1, and as a safety, I'm reading number 1, so it's 2-by-2 formation. So I'm looking. If 1 goes inside the corner, then that's my man. Number 2 the corner takes number 2. Well, what happened is the corner, he backed up, so I couldn't tell if he was going inside or out. I seen number 2 sit down at the goal line, and I seen the corner take it. So I knew I had to turn around and try to find number 1 behind me. He was running a back line dig, and he threw it to him. Money.
Who was it? Who was the receiver?
Christian Kirk.
So let
Got
me.
him paid
Can
too.
Can
If you want to get paid, make a play on Tyvus.
Stop that. Stop doing that. So here,
Yeah.
let me say a couple things here.
Yeah.
First, his shirt is appropriate. Go ask your mom, because obviously my friend is traumatized. But it's the clarity in your remembrance of what happened here.
Yep.
I mean, every point was vivid.
He goes through
It was
Steve
vivid,
is
right? Like,
terrible.
man, this dude just hit a lucky shot on you.
Dude, it was.
The only thing missing is like Rosen get up in your face and talking trash.
Man, don't be claiming that. Don't be claiming
It
that.
was the worst thing that could happen because I was undrafted, and at that time,
Timing.
they come in, and after you give up a play like that, cuts is coming up on Tuesday, so I'm thinking, man, I'm about to get cut. They about to work out these safeties and bring them in. But Jeff Halfley, who was my position coach, actually stood up for me. He said, you know what? You got to get this off you. We're going to roll with you. You starting the next game because we're playing a Thursday night game against Oakland. You're starting. And I was like, cool.
Nice.
Went out there, had a great game. Got cut the next week, though.
But think about all the intricate detail.
The clarity.
He just but even how much goes into a play, and we look at one guy and say he blew it. You just said he backed. I couldn't tell if he was going inside or out.
He backed up and he blew it. I was
just that little.
I was so mad. I was but the crazy thing is, after he did that, I looked at two and seen him sit, and I looked at the corner come flash, take him, and I'm like, well, I know I got this guy. So it would have been even worse if we both would have jumped two and he'd have been wide open.
How many years ago was that?
This was 2018.
So the moral of the story, maybe Andrew Sendejo wasn't so bad after all.
You never know.
It's a lot that goes. A lot of the times.
You don't know who's at fault.
That's what I'm saying. Unless you know the defense, you don't know who's at fault. And some of the times when I was watching Sendejo, it wasn't a lot of it wasn't his fault.
Sendejo was awful.
No.
He was awful.
But he was the scapegoat for sure. He was the scapegoat.
He was awful.
Sometimes, see what y'all don't know is on some of them over routes is really the weak side linebacker man that's supposed to take it, but he be so caught up in the play action that he's not gonna get back. So Sendejo's actually trying to take up for his man.
And it makes him look worse.
So Michael Jordan used to have a saying for people like that. He would call them a VOC.
What's that?
Victim of circumstance. You're a VOC.
I want to get to the Guardians here, guys. But last thing, another thing that drives me crazy that fans do is when they complain about play calling, because fans complain about play calling when it doesn't work, right? But if they had ran the exact same play and it had worked, which it is always designed to, then fans would never complain. It's whenever a team tries a trick play and it doesn't work, fans get so mad. And yet when it works, everybody loves it and goes nuts. It's if a trick play doesn't work, it's going to look ugly.
Well, people don't take into account that this is professionals. So
right.
It's guys that's going to win their one-on-one battles. Because if that was the case, every offensive play that's ever been created is created to score a touchdown.
Of course.
If it runs exactly how it's supposed to go.
Right.
People on defense are getting paid. They are elite, and they're able to make plays. So that's why a lot of plays get busted.
They're elite.
Yeah. It's only two guys in the NFL, in my personal experience, that I looked at and said, this guy is elite. Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack. I watched it and I said, yeah,
Did you say Tom Brady was elite?
I didn't think Tom was elite when I seen him play. I seen Aaron Rodgers play when I was a rookie.
Yeah.
Man, he shredded the LOB. I was like, that guy is a magician. Yeah, he was crazy.
All right, guys. We got to switch things up here. Let's get to the Guardians. Weird game yesterday. Guardians score a run in the top of the first. Mariners scored 3 in the bottom of the first, and that's it. That was it. Tristan McKenzie, he's had some first-inning issues lately.
It wasn't his best shot.
But he actually pitched really well after that, and the bullpen did fine, but they couldn't get anything going offensively. They lose. Fortunately, though, both the White Sox lost 4-3 and 11, and the Twins lost 6-3 to the Astros. So they maintain their 4-game lead.
Excellent.
And with one less game to go on the schedule,
Chicago
so now
trying,
39 games left for the Guardians, 39 left for the Twins, and 37 left, I believe, for the White Sox. So, listen, you can't win them all. I hope they would go 3-3 in this road trip after winning the first 2 against the Padres. I'm hoping for 4 out of 6. It was unfortunately lost yesterday, Jason, because that was their biggest pitching matchup edge was in that game. Marco Gonzalez is like the Mariners' 4th starter, and obviously McKenzie's been great. Need Bieber to get it going tonight, but he's facing a tough pitcher in Logan Gilbert, who's a good young pitcher.
Gilbert, good young pitcher, second year in the league, really coming into his own. Gonzalez was terrific last night. Even Tito said, hey, there's nothing we can do with him. So
yeah, he just had one of those days.
Is Seattle in the
they were a wild card team as of 2 days ago.
They have the same record as the Guardians.
So they would be the first round matchup.
Yeah, I think it still is.
Yeah, I didn't look this morning, but I assume it did.
Weren't they the team that during the season they went on like a 15-game
They won right before the All-Star break. I think they won 14 in a row.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're a pretty good team. And you want to be challenged. The Guardians are going to be tested in this final, whatever it is, 5-6 weeks of the season. They're playing a lot of good teams.
That's good. They're going to be able to showcase them playing good baseball. So when they get into the postseason, they already clicking on all cylinders. So it's actually pretty good.
If you had to bet right now on the Guardians making the playoffs, are you in?
Yeah, I'm all in.
I'm in.
I'm pushing all my chips ahead.
I'm in, but they've got a lot of games left with the Twins and White Sox. They've got 12 left, and there's 1 week in September that I believe is going to determine who wins the division.
Interestingly enough, too, Tristan McKenzie, the only team he's not pitched well against this year, the Twins.
No, don't say that.
3 starts against the Twins. He's got like a 9 ERA. Against everybody else before yesterday's game, I think he had a 2.40 ERA against the rest of the league.
It's 2.62 now, so it barely moved. Even after yesterday's game, his ERA against teams that aren't the Twins, it's like 2.62 now. It's still
He's had problems in the first inning, but really seems
his
to settle
last 2
down
starts
after the
bad first innings and then great. The last start he had like 14 strikeouts after struggling in the first inning. Again, tonight's game, it's a little, when they're on the West Coast, it almost sometimes feels like they're off because nobody watches the game.
Because it's so late.
I know. Well, yesterday's game was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but the next 2 nights, I believe, are 10 o'clock starts, aren't they?
Yes.
10 o'clock starts the next 2 nights, so that's always tough.
Catch
but
the highlights.
The question I wanted to ask is, I guess everybody is all in on.
Everyone is all in, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the fans are not going to the games. That's not going to change until they get to the playoffs.
No, but we should be talking about that because, I mean, you're in the hunt here. I mean, they are legitimately in the hunt here.
Yeah, well, what are you expecting? Let's look at the upcoming homestand, which starts Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember. I think they're off Monday and then it starts Tuesday. They've got the Orioles, then the Mariners in the upcoming homestand, right? And then the Royals. So, especially those first 2 series, those are 2 decent teams, pretty good teams. The Royals suck, but there should be good crowds for these games. But I don't have much faith that there will be. You guys?
No, we haven't seen any proof. Now, last weekend we had tickets to the Saturday night game. It was fireworks. Friday night it was a good crowd because it was Dollar Dog Night, I think, and fireworks.
What was the crowd?
Saturday was fireworks. Saturday at the game I was at, it was the 3-hour rain delay. So by the time the game actually started, half of them were gone.
Right.
But it would have been, over 20,000 for sure, 2025.
Think about that.
I know.
You're saying that's a good crowd.
I know, it is.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah. It's
like 20,000 is a good crowd.
Well, this team certainly plays to the level that they deserve more. They deserve to be playing in front of a full house every night.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, I wonder, what do we think it is? I mean, is it the economy? It's been a while. We can't, the economy ebbs and flows.
I think it's a disconnect between the perception of the public and the personality of the team, right? Everybody thinks now they see it, and they see it from a distance that the Guardians are winning games and 4 games up on the front, but I don't think there's a real connection with the team. Now, I'll go back to Albert Bell and Ramirez and Ryan. There was a connection with the team. They were connected to this team. And for whatever reason, I don't think the fan base, the fans that are really locked in, besides their group, the next group of wave of people that need to fill up the rest of the stadium, there's not a connection here.
But let me ask you this: if the Browns had not been stolen from Cleveland, and they had just been there the 3 years that there was no football, they wouldn't have sold out all those games, would they?
Yeah, they would have, because they had players with personality. I mean, there were players here that you knew exactly who they were, right? You did. But I don't know here besides McKenzie, right, and Ramirez. I don't think you could go up and down the street and ask anybody who else is on the.
But they haven't really sold out.
This is. I mean, we could talk about this for hours. I'm going to try and boil it down to 30 seconds. Would they have sold out? Probably not to the extent, but they still would have had a pretty good streak.
Part of that was a new stadium, too.
We wrote a story on this. Art Modell was shocked that they were selling suites. People were leaving the Browns and going to the Indians when they opened that stadium. Modell was stunned that people, because he thought, who would ever leave us?
Right.
And the fact that they were losing some fans. But would it have extended as long as it did if the Browns were still here? I don't know, because that's my larger point, and people don't want to hear this. Cleveland is very fortunate to have 3 teams, and they're fortunate that they got the extension done with the Guardians to stay at Progressive Field, because I've talked to executives in town here who kind of throw up their shoulders and say, I'm not sure the economy can support 3 teams. And Brad, you would know this as well, being in government. I've talked to people who are like, Sherwin-Williams bringing their headquarters downtown is huge, but now we need more companies to bring their headquarters and to bring business back downtown, because I'm telling you, LeBron created a generation of Cavs fans that previously did not exist in Cleveland.
True.
And he put the Cavs on the map in a way that now people go to Cavs games whether they're good or not. And that wasn't always the case. And I just don't know if there's enough money in Cleveland to support 3 teams. But they're fortunate in that the Cavs are locked in long term. The Guardians are locked in long term. So we don't have to worry about it.
And downtown Cleveland, when there's no games, is a ghost town.
So let me.
It's a ghost town.
So in a couple of weeks, I believe Neil Weiss, Executive Vice President of the Guardians, is going to join us to talk about the stadium expansion program.
They've got a lot of big ideas.
And then let's talk about the ideas around progressive field and what needs to happen here.
Right.
So the great thing is, right, that they got locked into a long-term deal here because there are a lot of thirsty cities out here.
Oh, yeah.
They're looking to
Nashville.
extract somebody's team here. The question is, and I believe this is a three-sport town, right? The problem has been here that it has not always been played like that. We were relegated for such a long time in futility around here in these sports that it was just like a foregone conclusion that the Cavs were here, the Browns were here.
Right.
And it's going down to Municipal Stadium. You go down to Municipal Stadium, it was just a dump, right? It was just a dump. And then that's when they built Progressive Field, Jacobs Field, and everybody jettisoned Municipal to go to Jacobs because it was new, right?
Yeah.
And then the Cavs came in and Art was like, hey, hold on, y'all getting all this new stuff over here. What about us?
Right.
Right, and that's kind of how it jumped off. I would just tell you that there has to be a connection between the fan base and the personality of the team. There's a connection.
But when the Guardians were going to the playoffs 16, 17, they had a lot of good personalities on the team.
There's a distrust in ownership that they're going to be able to retain their
difference.
talent. And to your point, when they had Bell, Manny, that was when the idea of signing long-term extensions was hot and everyone was doing it. Guys don't do that anymore. That really puts the Guardians at a disadvantage. They locked up Baerga with a long-term deal. They locked up Lofton with an early long-term deal. But they didn't pay those guys second
Guys
contracts.
are still doing that.
That's not as much. You got to get them earlier and earlier. Shane Bieber rejected them. Like I already wrote about that. They tried to lock up Shane.
They extended
and Shane said
Kipnis. No. They did extend Brantley initially.
Even since then, in the last 3 to 4 to 5 years,
guys are signing way early. First year.
Julio Rodriguez that just came across. Julio Rodriguez is signing a monster deal with the Mariners. You have to get these guys. It's to the point you have to get them their rookie year or even before they make their major league debut to buy out those arbitration years. Otherwise, you're going to run into what the Guardians are doing now, and you have to trade these guys earlier in their careers. In the 90s, they would sign earlier, or they would sign longer deals earlier in their careers than they will now.
I go back to this, Jason. That's all true. There has to be a connection between the personnel and the personality of the team to the fan base. You can't go to any market that has a good program or a team that is invested in the team and not know the personnel. If I go to Dallas, the Dallas fans know the Cowboys people. If I go to the Warriors, they know everybody on the Warriors. If I go to Las Vegas, they know who the Raiders are. If I play baseball, they know who are on the Mets. They know who are on the Yankees. I just say here, when it comes to baseball in this town, except for that run in the 90s, you may know a couple people, but you're not going to know them top to bottom here. We only know just a couple people here, and that does not equate and inspire me to go buy a ticket.
But winning should trump even that. You should want to go see a winner.
The problem is they weren't perceived to be a winner, right?
Well, they are.
But they're the best organization in town.
And the season ticket base really sets your attendance.
Yes, it does.
Because you're not going to get a 20,000 walk-up crowd.
Well, Rodriguez for the Mariners just got an extension for $450.
Rookie having a monster year. They got him his rookie year.
Right.
You can't wait. And in the Guardians' defense, Indians, whatever you want to call them, they tried getting Lindor. No, because they were the Indians at the time. They tried getting Lindor early. And they still missed the window.
Yeah, they did.
You have to sign these guys like George Valera coming up next year. If you want George, you got to sign him to a 6-year deal on day one, almost.
Well, you do that, you better be sure, because some of those have backfired. But if the player's any good at all, it's a
Jonathan Singleton in Houston signed a massive deal.
Yeah,
never
barely played in the majors.
Barely played.
All right, Mikey, time for good bet, bad bet.
It is time for a good bet, bad bet. And yesterday we had a lot of bad bets. Jay went 0-3.
Ooh.
Bull, you went 1-2. Hulk went 1-2. And G. Bush went 2-1. So G. Bush with a rare
Look at me, I'm creeping back in the game, baby.
But Brad has been hot. Brad went 3-0 in his last.
Oh, yes, I was down, buddy.
He was
Brad
much further out.
Brad went 1-11 1 week. That was a tough
my
week.
goodness.
Oh yeah, I'm back in the game, baby.
Tough week for our boy
Stop
Brad.
playing.
Wait a minute. Let me see it one more time. Let me see those stats one more time.
Let's pull the tag board up one more time. Tyvus is now the percentage points leader over Punk after Punk went 2-4 this week.
Well, Tyvus gonna get smoked in the basketball
See,
season.
that's not these guys' fault. Why can't you include their bets even on days they're not here?
Don't worry about it.
I think for football season we should do that.
Don't worry about it.
I have a hard enough time getting everyone who's on the show that day to send me their bets on time.
Please don't group me in that, because you never have a hard time getting
That's
my
a
picks.
fact.
No, that's true. Bull is always the first one in.
Whoa, that's a lie.
No, Bull is always
Not in the building, although I am usually.
As
except
soon
for
as
you.
he texts me, I shoot it right back.
Tyvis is
Yeah.
really quick. But he's
All
only
right,
on
you're
the
good,
He
too.
literally texts me. I text it right
So
back.
take Tyvis and me out of that.
You
Everybody
guys are
else
the
gets
most
blamed.
punctual. Brad usually gets in 10:15, 10:20.
10:20, bro.
G. Bush, we have to text him every morning to remind him. You know, like you're right. In theory, Jason, we should text everyone
Yeah.
every day.
But I think for football, we got to do it. You know.
Well, you got a whole week.
We'll try.
And
You
if
got a
they
whole
don't
week.
give you picks by a certain time, they get 0 for 3. That's it.
Maybe we do that. Maybe we
Yeah.
do that. Okay, well, let's get to today's picks.
Yeah.
We have 3 good ones. We have a Guardians and 2 Browns. We'll start with the first one. Guardians still a 1.5 favorite at Seattle with Bieber on the mound, but they're playing Logan, who's been pitching really well for the Mariners.
Logan Gilbert.
Logan Gilbert. And you guys all voted different ways. It was a weird panel, so we're just going to tell you how you guys voted today. But
Okay.
Anthony's at the doctor this morning, so our graphics department's a little shocked.
Okay.
He's in. He did great. You guys all picked good. Everyone's taking the Guardians today, so no matter what
Yeah.
happens, we're all aligned there.
They need this one with Bieber tonight.
I might say they
They
got
need
that.
it bad.
They got the
Need it
hand.
bad.
They got the
Let's see the next one. A little preseason football action.
Embarrassing.
Bears plus 5.5 at the Browns, and we had a big variance. We had Jay and not Jay. Yes. Sorry, I'm reading this. Jay, Brad, and Tyvis all said bad. Boy, you're taking the good.
I'm always going to take an underdog in a preseason game because who the hell knows what's going to happen? I'll take the points.
I agree.
It's irrelevant which team is the better team. It's the preseason, guys. They're not play. I mean, I know Jacoby Brissett's going to play, even though he got his hand banged up yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever it was.
I just think that
Come on now.
the Bears.
That's the Bears.
The Bears' offense is shot to begin with. So.
I mean, the Bears. Yeah, but like, don't you think Justin Fields will play a lot more than Brissett will?
He's supposed to play the whole half, I understand.
Who is?
Justin Fields.
I doubt it.
I heard that today.
I doubt it. Now with the Browns started, they better get him out of there. He might not make it to the first game. That offensive line so bad.
They're giving him no chance.
They better save him.
What I don't understand about the Bears is the Bears never have cap room, and yet their team sucks all the time. How do they never have cap room? Who are they paying?
If they put Justin Fields in there for a half, they would be doing him a disservice. They said that they just planted this season.
Hold on. They've been doing him a disservice.
Did you see what happened to him last year? There's no way
he out here running for his life. I'll be like, please. I'll be saying Hail Mary for him every time. Like, oh my God.
As a
Get out of here.
I don't want to see my Buckeye brother go down like that.
All right,
Get
Mike,
him
you
out of
got
there.
one more.
And lastly, under 48.5 passing yards for Jacoby Brissett. Tyvis, the only one on a limb here with the good bet. Everyone else went bad.
They're not about to listen. They don't want this world. They don't want the Browns fan to panic. So they're not going to put him in a lot of passing situations anyways. They're going to give him some little short throws. He's only going to play for a couple of series anyways. He ain't getting over it. It's not like he's stretching the ball downfield because that's not what he does anyway.
Yeah, but that's not a lot of yards, though.
48, yeah, exactly. My point exactly. We're going to get him out. We just need you to, listen, we just need you to go out there, complete a couple of passes, and we're going to get you out because we don't want the fan base to do this Josh Dobbs season BS stuff. We just want y'all to be calm going into week 1.
It's Cleveland, man.
I'm just saying.
Fair enough. I think all he needs is like one decent catch and run, and
Well, here.
Who gonna do that?
Hold on.
My man David Bell.
Let's flip that around.
Yeah, okay.
Let me say something.
Let's flip this around.
Yeah.
I'm praying that he has a good start here.
They're not going to expose him.
Let me tell you something. Who cares if he has a good start? I don't care. Let me talk to the captain for a minute.
Me and Earl got to take radio calls tomorrow.
Let me tell you something.
These people care.
Let me tell you something. Anybody that calls a radio show about a preseason game is an idiot. So listen, you did radio for 10 years. I didn't do post-game show for preseason games ever.
Hey, I love talking to the fans. Call me on tomorrow.
David Bell is going to be a good player, okay? All this hype for all these Ohio State receivers, they're so arrogant.
Whoa. What the heck? What got to do with anything?
Let me ask you this.
Don't get canceled over here. Stop playing over here.
Who won best receiver in the Big Ten last year?
David Bell.
Is the guy's got to be pretty good to win with all that great talent.
Hold on, stop. He's not better than Jackson Smith.
I'm about to say
he's crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy.
Listen to what I'm saying here. Why did he win? Is he the most skilled wide receiver on the face of the earth? No.
A lot of friends.
What does he do? No, what does he do? I was joking about the Ohio State receivers. Relax. What does he do? He's efficient. He's smart. catches the ball, runs good routes.
Yeah.
It's not quarterback. Those traits with wide receiver are much more likely to translate from college to the NFL than like a quarterback, is a little more unknown there.
You say it like I'm out on David Bell.
I know that.
Oh,
but
I'm about to say, I'm praying it. I know he's – I watched
What
him.
I'm saying
Dude had 200 yards like 3 times in
what
college.
I'm saying is, like, Jay especially has, like, gone over the top about how bad the receivers are, and we don't know.
Well, I haven't seen
talented
DPJ and David Bell for his first NFL action, which
Yeah.
people forget that was his first NFL game.
Yeah.
He did well.
I thought he played pretty well last
He
week.
dropped 1 pass.
Right.
That was
it
it.
happens.
Yeah.
But again, like, we can't get, like, some people want to give up on the wide receiving corps before this guy's ever played an NFL game. They think highly of him. Let's see.
Tyvis, the biggest knock on David Bell is he's not fast.
That's
he's not
fine.
Who cares?
But that's why I was going to ask you, how fast do you have? Like
Nobody. Do you know that the top receivers outside of y'all see people look at Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase and they think like, oh, just because they're half the receivers jog them routes. Like if you watch an over route, they be just.
I remember 2 years ago.
Because if the run action is right, them linebackers gonna bite anyways. And it's just gonna be wide open. So
I
you don't
remember
have to
2
be fast.
years ago when the Bengals drafted T. Higgins in the second round,
Right.
and a buddy of mine who's a huge college football guy goes, he's not that great an athlete. He's not that fast. I was like, well, everybody's telling me he runs great routes and can catch the ball. That's what I want from my wide receiver.
Cooper Kupp isn't fast.
T. Higgins is a stud.
Cooper Kupp ain't fast at all.
okay.
Are we just saying he's not fast because he's white, or is he
No,
actually
he's really not fast.
Don't we always assume the white guys are not fast?
Mike Thomas is slow, but he get that ball, he gone.
so I don't want to put a guy on blast, but
Yeah.
the name that
Oh.
comes to mind is
Oh.
Brian Rubisky. He was a second-round pick who was not fast, and it hurt him. So what's the difference in a guy like David Bell who's not fast, but we hope?
Well, it depends on how he's being utilized. Because like I just told you, if you're David Bell and they're telling you to run this over route, everybody's gonna respect Nick Chubb anyway. So them linebackers is going to bite, and you're gonna be wide open. When you run your routes, it's all about getting in and out of your breaks as a wide receiver. Amari Cooper, for one, he gonna run that route, and when he cut and plant, he's excelling out of it.
Right.
That's where you get your separation, is in and out of the break. Because if a DB is 1, 2, 3 out of his break, you should be wide open. But if a receiver is boom and gone and it's fast, he gonna be open every time. There's nothing you can really do
You can
about
always
it.
find one example of a guy, right?
Sure,
but
I'm saying that's
he
the first
also
name
played
that came to
around
mind.
great talent at Ohio State.
It's all
but I'm
about
saying-
in and out of your breaks. That's all for DB and receiver.
Some guys who don't have great speed, they don't make it, and you think it's because of a lack of speed.
Right.
And other
No.
guys who don't have great speed go on to have terrific careers.
And there's plenty of guys who have great speed, like John Ross, who the Bengals drafted, who sucked. And, Anthony Schwartz.
Anthony
Again,
Schwartz.
it's only second year for Anthony Schwartz. I don't think it's fair to write him off
TBD.
yet, but still.
Anthony
Go ahead.
Schwartz,
Top
TBD.
5 Mikey McNuggets. What do you got?
We do. Today's top 5
Yeah.
is 5 things we want to see in tomorrow night's preseason finale against the Bears. We didn't really preview it, so we figured
I will
this
not
would
get
be
mad at you
our-
because I don't care about anything in the Bengals.
And we
I just
have-
don't want any guys to get hurt.
I
That's
know
the
what
only thing I
number
want
1
to
is.
Go ahead.
We got negative bull. So let's start with number 5. Is Demetric Felton alive? I would like to see Demetric Felton at least on the field and breathing
too.
tomorrow because I have not seen him yet in preseason.
I said I
action.
wasn't going to complain about your list, but now I am. I don't care about Demetric Felton. He's irrelevant.
Negative bull is
He
back.
was
No
he
offense.
was with the ones when Deshaun Watson was in there. That's all I know.
If I say somebody's irrelevant and then I say no offense, does that make it any less offensive? No, it does not.
No, you're good.
It's still completely offensive. Go ahead,
All
Mike.
right, number 4.
Yeah.
I want to see Josh Rosen put up another Josh Rosen stat line. As we've established, that's about 6 for 21,
Hater. You're a
48
hater.
yards. Yeah,
That's
I am a
sad.
hater.
That's sad. I want to see Josh Rosen. This could potentially be Josh Rosen's
Last
last
stand.
NFL.
Yeah, so he need to go out. If
like
I'm
Mr.
him, I'm playing the Super Bowl.
It's like the
tomorrow.
last dance for the Bulls and Josh Rosen.
Mr.
What's the
Consistency.
difference?
I'd love to see 18, 8 for
He better go.
21.
He better go
Better not be-
11 for
better not-
13 with like 125 in the tub.
He's still getting cut.
That's true.
Oh yeah, but it still looks good amongst
Yeah,
other.
there you go.
He's not doing it for the Browns. He's doing it for 31 other teams.
He's doing it for State Farm because that's where he's going to be working next week.
Well, he was the guy. He ruffled a lot of feathers when he came in the league and said, "If this doesn't work, I won't be at like McDonald's or something like that."
Is that what he
true.
said?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Not a good comment.
It was bad.
All right, number 3.
Yeah.
Good.
I want to see Kevin Stefanski put 2 running backs in the backfield at the same time and utilize some of these 2-back sets.
We
Whether
not-
it won't be
we not
Chubb and
gonna see
Hunt
that
tomorrow in a
tomorrow.
preseason game,
No.
but I want to see Ford
I'm
and
gonna tell
Johnson.
you.
or
I
something.
disagree.
I'm gonna
I
tell
wanna
you
see it in
right
the
now
regular
that that would never happen because they will not put that on film so
tape.
people can
Exactly.
game plan
I don't
for
want to see that in the
Do not.
preseason.
These are things
I want
I
to see
want
it in the
to see.
regular
You
season.
do. What I wanna see,
You can see
not
it in the
what they're
regular.
gonna do.
You will not see it in no preseason.
That's
game.
right.
That's what I want to see.
Nothing creative. All right,
Nothing else.
number 2.
Number 2, I want to see Jacoby Brissett throw one single pass. Just want to see him throw one single pass.
That will happen.
You'll get that.
That will happen for sure.
You'll get that.
We hope so. How funny would it be if Stefanski just goes out with Brissett for 2 drives and just hands the ball off 8 times?
Nah,
no.
They'd start booing.
It'd be an uproar this
they'd
time.
start booing. Boo!
And the number one thing we want to see in tomorrow's preseason game is no injuries. Let's get out healthy.
That is the most
Get out healthy and get ready for the regular season. That's number 1.
Please.
All right, that's a good top 5, Mike. I like the 4 exclamation points. I'm a big exclamation point myself, exclamation point guy. Tyvis, final takes, final thoughts, or whatever the hell you want to call it. You're up first.
Roll it. Hold on.
Got to roll something?
Yeah. I need this right here. That. Boom. All right. So for final takes for me, yesterday and last Sunday, I had Sunday I had the privilege of going in the radio booth for the Browns. After I did the pregame show, I went up there with Jim Donovan and Nathan Segura. And I was watching them, and as you know, if you don't know, I do high school football. I do the color commentary for high school football in Columbus. And I was sitting there watching Nathan, and I'm like, man, I can do that. Like, it was like, man, it gave me some confidence because it's like, man, I'm on the right path. Like, what I'm doing right now is pretty similar to how he's doing things. So that was a confidence booster for me. And then last night, I know me and Richard Sherman is like, that's my boy. And, you know, he made his Amazon Thursday night debut. And he's doing pregame, halftime, and postgame shows. And I was sitting there just watching him talk and interact and how he was on TV. And it was just like, man, I'm just like that. Like, I do the same thing. We have the same behavior. I articulate the same way he does. He might use bigger words than me because he went to Stanford. But I was like, man, I could definitely do that. So for me, this past week has just been a confidence booster that I know I can do the things that I aspire to do, and I'm on the right path. So it was just a good week for me all in all. It was a confidence booster.
Brad?
You're going to be all right. Just keep working. I told your mother, you just keep grinding. You don't do nothing else. Just keep grinding. All right. Here we go. Next weekend. You know, I hate Notre Dame. I really
I agree with that.
dislike Notre Dame.
Notre Lame. Notre
I
can't
got a
win
lot
a
of friends that
game.
went to Notre Dame. Ken Barlow, Greg Bitt. I got a bunch of people. Orlando Ward, late Orlando Ward. I know a lot of people went to Notre Dame. I'm so sick of Notre Dame stuff, right? Sitting out here on the pedestal like you're this elite institution and you can't come close or near to anybody else. Well, let me tell you, your reign is coming to an end. We have a seat at the table for you at the Big Ten here, but it's not forever because Washington and Oregon want it. And if you're asking me to vote, I say go on over to the ACC and stay over there where they are. To purgatory. Nobody's even watching them anymore. Come over here with us. And next weekend, Tyvis and I, we happy over here. Get a picture of me and my man. We happy. We happy.
I already know what's going on.
Because you coming to Ohio Stadium next weekend. We've been waiting for you. Mm-hmm. Well, we've been waiting for you. Mm-hmm. I can't say it again, Jason. We've been waiting for you, right? And we're going to have some little fun with you. Yes, we are. Have a little fun with you. And I know you got that Notre Dame pride. I hear about it all the time, the Golden Dome, all that blah, 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 blah. My own family lives 3 streets away from Notre Dame, right? So I've been to Notre Dame campus many a time. I've been waiting for you. Tyver's been waiting for you. The Buckeye Nation's been waiting for you. And guess what? The good thing is it's not one and done. We got a home and home series with you. Mm-hmm. We'll get you this time, and then when me and Tyver's going to hit the road, we're going to hit the road next year. We come to South Bend, buddy. That's where you're going to sit right there in your little tailgate outside the little place, the little cornfield. And we're going to be right there with you because guess what? We're going to make you join this Big Ten. Yes, you are. Come on here. Purdue waiting for you. Indiana's waiting for you. Ohio State's waiting for you. Michigan. Stop playing Michigan State. Come on down here and play us every year. You get off that NBC contract and join us, this $1 billion TV deal we got. I mean, see you soon.
It'd be a few extra billion if they
I mean, we got NBC. You get 40 extra million, you sign.
Come on with us.
And I ain't got Notre Dame. I got my last college win against Notre Dame. So
I hate Notre Dame too.
I went out on a good limb.
Jason?
Well, this week my final takes are all about me. Yesterday I needed a landscaper. Today I need more help. We've got the stupid fantasy football draft next week. I haven't played in 10 years. Last year was the first time I got back into it. My team finished dead last. I need help. I'm going off the rails. No one here knows this. If you can help me, you can come with me to our draft. You're going to be my secret weapon. Slide into my DMs on Twitter @ByJasonLloyd. Send me your resume of fantasy football at jlloyd@theathletic.com. Show me your championships. Show me your rings.
Wow.
If you're a good fantasy football player, if you know what you're doing, if you can help me shut this guy up,
That's cheating.
Nothing
I'm
can
pointing
shut
the
me up.
ball. Send me your resume. Help me draft. Help me take down the bull in our fantasy football
with
league.
the 4th pick.
With the 4th pick and the 17th pick, Dave Richard tried to help me, and then he froze up. And then he never did give me an answer.
I sabotaged
He did
it.
not.
Well, he did. He said
He started to, and then he said, "Bull's throwing us
if
in the
we
deep
go,
end."
if we're doing 2 quarterbacks, that you should take a quarterback.
He did
there.
say that.
Yeah.
We're only going to do one quarterback. I think.
You want to switch it?
I prefer the regular
All right,
one
let's
for
do
the
it. It's a little
newbies.
easier for guys.
the
Just send me the rules.
We'll switch it out
Send
to
me
one.
the
I'll
rules
switch
in
it out to
writing.
one quarter.
Send me
The rest
your
of the rules will
resume.
stay the same, but we'll switch it out to one
Send me
quarterback.
your resume and come help me draft a winner in the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show Fantasy Football League.
All right.
You just opened Pandora's box, Jason. Thank you so much.
Let's go, Bull.
You should see some of the nudniks that are going to be sending messages to you.
No nudes. I don't want nudes. I just want your resume.
All right, shout out to
He wants the resume written on his back in
Yeah.
Sharpie, and that's the picture he wants.
So 31 years ago yesterday, I forgot about it yesterday. I forgot to do it yesterday, but is the anniversary of one of my favorite players ever reaching a milestone. I don't know if anybody remembers a great closer was for the crux of his early career with the Cubs by the name of Lee Smith. Does anybody remember Lee Smith?
I remember Lee Smith.
Big guy.
I wasn't alive.
Yep.
It was a long time ago.
It wasn't that long ago. But
Lee
keep going.
Arthur Smith. I still remember his middle name because he would come in. He's this big, hulking relief pitcher. Back in the days when closers would actually pitch 2 and sometimes 3 innings. Lee Smith is a Hall of Famer. When I was a kid, my 2 favorite players were Ryne Sandberg and Lee Smith of the Cubs. The reason and it was 31 years ago yesterday, he got his 300th save. He ended up saving over 400 games. He pitched for the Red Sox. He pitched for the Cardinals, which killed me that he pitched for the Cardinals. But the one of the memories I have was, and this is amazing, like we have so much information now available to us, but when I was a kid, the only way to get out of town sports news and scores, there were 2 options. You could call Sports Phone. You guys remember Sports Phone? You used to dial 976-1313, I think it was. Don't call it now. It could be a porn line for all I know.
Whoa.
But back in the day, you would call, I think it was 976-1313, and every 10 minutes they would update the baseball score.
Okay.
That's the only way I could get a score. Or 1010 Wins, which is a big news station in New York, still around today. They give you the scores at 15 and 45 after the hour and the sports news. That was the only way at that time that I could get sports scores out of town, which is amazing. You think about what it's like now. And I'll never forget when the Cubs traded Lee Smith to the Red Sox for Al Nipper and Calvin Schiraldi. Al Nipper and Calvin Schiraldi. They both sucked. And I was heartbroken because he was one of my 2 favorite players. And I was a kid, and I was angry. I was heartbroken. I remember listening to the radio over and over again, listening to that trade on 1010 Wins, and I was crying as a kid because Lee Smith had been traded. Kudos to him for getting in the Hall of Fame. All right, that's it for a Friday edition. Mike, did you want to have one comment?
Yeah, make sure everyone subscribes. We can't
Yes, please.
we can't
can't do this
encourage you to
without you.
subscribe enough. I know. Hit the bell. Joe Thomas on Monday,
Yes.
making his 2nd appearance. We're gonna revisit the McNuggets nickname with Joe Thomas because he's the one that gave it to me back.
Right. He's going to have
the
no
3rd
clue
day.
what you're talking about, but okay.
He follows me on Twitter, so he has to at least
Does.
see my terrible takes.
He's
every
not
once in a
looking
while.
at your. He's
I know,
not actually
I know.
looking at your Twitter.
But we got Joe Thomas. We got a big week coming up next
Right.
week, and this was a really good week, guys.
It was a
Really
great
good
week. It's a great week. Mikey says subscribe. You go to our YouTube page, click the subscribe button, and then you hit the bell for alerts as well. Keep those numbers coming if you haven't subscribed already. Guys, have
And tell
a great
your friends.
weekend.
And tell your friends to subscribe.
your
I know
friends,
the
your
people
cousins,
watching have
whoever it is.
subscribed, but we need you to tell your friends to subscribe.
right.
Tell their friends to subscribe.
Lock it in. We'll talk to you Monday, 11 a.m. right here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. See ya.